Welcome to the Football Show, the Saturday edition here on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm delighted to say that Tam McManus joins me, Peter Martin, in the first of what we hope will be many Saturday afternoon shows, just keeping you up to date with everything that's happening across the Scottish Premiership, Championship, League One and League Two. We'll also cast an eye from time to time over what's happening in England, but predominantly if you are a Scottish football fan, then we'll be all over it. It's as simple as that. In the Scottish Premiership, after 45 minutes, we can keep you up to date with exactly what's happening because there are only 2 goals. Here's a quick look at what's been happening in the 4 matches that have taken place this afternoon. In the first 45 minutes, Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 0, Celtic 1, Kilmarnock 0, Ross County 0, Livingston 0 and St Mirren 1, Hearts 0. So that's how it looks in the Scottish Premiership. And Tam, 2 goals. I think Aberdeen have had 1 goal chalked off as well. VAR getting involved there. We're going to talk about VAR. We're going to talk about everything that comes into our head and keep everybody up to date. But as you see the score lines there, Celtic left it right on the stroke of half time for their goal from Jota.
Yeah, it did. I think it was one-way traffic, wasn't it? I think Kilmarnock have set up to be hard to break down, hard to beat. They get to half time, they're hoping for 0-0, but good play from Maeda and he puts it across and Jota finishes it, so I think they'll get it at half time, pretty happy with 1-0. Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Kilmarnock, I think at this point Kyle Vassell is the man who's geared up to try and get them the goals. They've started with it looks like a 5-3-2 with obviously when Celtic have got that ball, everybody behind the ball. I think Derek McInnes has to look in the second half to the likes of Vassell to try and get a bit of support up there from the midfield if they're going to get anything out of this game. Yeah, I think it's always difficult. Listen, I've been in that position myself, and you go there, you're playing up front yourself against Celtic or Rangers and you don't get many touches. Kilmarnock have got to squeeze high to get up beside the strikers. I don't think they're going to do that just yet. I think they'll try and keep it at 1-0 as long as possible, maybe the last 20 minutes, and then they'll have a go to try and get a goal from a set piece or a corner or something like that. So I don't think they'll open up too much yet, Kilmarnock. I think they'll try and stay in the game until the last 15-20 minutes. Yeah, rule number 1, if you are indeed going to predict where you're going to finish in the league, try not to do it with 18 games remaining. Toby Sibic yesterday says he thought Hearts could catch Rangers. Well, let's hear from Adam Binney. He's watched the first 45 minutes of St Mirren against Hearts.
Half time here at the Smizer Stadium. It's St Mirren 1, Hearts 0. St Mirren getting that opening goal after just 4 minutes. It was a free kick from Ryan Strain, well struck, but it hit the wall. It was Toby Sibic in the Hearts wall, didn't jump with the rest of his men, and the ball flicked off of his head and deflected into the bottom corner to give the Saints the lead. Thereafter, Hearts went in search of an equaliser but couldn't do so. They've had all the ball without creating any chances, and another day St Mirren striker Alex Grieve could have actually had a hat-trick. 2 cutbacks from Curtis Main, one going just behind Grieve, the other one just in front, as well as a free volley at the back post from a Ryan Flynn cross, denying Grieve of a goal on his return to the starting 11. But it's all over here in the first half. At half time it has finished St Mirren 1, Hearts 0.
So it's going to be an interesting second half, but nevertheless, a good start for St Mirren. I mean, again, when you look at what Hearts achieved in the derby, the last thing they want to do is go into the next game and slip up. Yeah, I think they've been on a good run of form since they come back from the break, Hearts. But St Mirren have been excellent at home this season. Their home record's tremendous. It's up there with the best in the league. So, you know, by all accounts from Adam there, St Mirren have been dominant in the first half, but it's only 1-0. And I think Robbie Neilson will get in at half time, getting amongst a few players, maybe make a few tactical changes, personnel changes, and try and come out and win the game, because, you know, St Mirren closed the gap to 2 points with a win here on Hearts. You know, so it's a big game for both clubs. You know, Hearts win this, you know, they're disappearing into the sunset for 3rd place, but if St Mirren can win it, then, you know, 2 points behind. Yeah, I was going to get your thoughts on that, because in some of the morning papers, Ryan Stevenson's been talking about the fact that Hearts could leave Hibs completely in their slipstream. Let's talk about Aberdeen, because you know, Graham Shinney has made his 500th competitive appearance in football, which is no mean feat. He's back at Aberdeen. I think he was involved in Louis Duke's goal, which was chalked off, but Aberdeen, I think, need to get something positive up there at Pittodrie today. I think it's a massive game for Aberdeen. I think the run of form they've been on ever since that last minute goal from Callum McGregor, they've been on a downward spiral, and they've lost a lot of late goals. You know, lost away to St Mirren, you know, drew last week. So in another home game, you know, I don't think you can afford to drop consecutive points at home to Ross County and St Johnstone. You know, so big 45 minutes coming up. I know that they've dominated the game. Looking at the statistics, they've had a goal chopped off.
So they'll be looking in the second half to go and get the 3 points. But I think it's crucial for Jim Goodwin to do that.
Yeah, let's hear what happened at Celtic Park. Kerry Pollock is there.
Half-time here at Celtic Park. Celtic 1 at Kilmarnock 0. It was a slow start for both sides here this afternoon. The ball did spend the majority of the time in the Kelly half. Ball's been whipped into the box by Maeda, Jota, Johnson and even Aaron Moy getting involved as well. And no one just is there just to send it towards Sam Walker in time. Keogh will get the ball in the back of the net though, but his goal was called for offside. Shortly after that, just moments before the half-time whistle, it was Jota that got goal number 6 under his belt. It was Bernabe who played Maeda in, crossed the ball into the box. It looked like it was going to be Keogh's goal, but Jota just got on the end of it to send it into the back of the net. Half-time here at Celtic Park. Celtic 1, Kilmarnock 0.
Yeah, if there's any goals across the Scottish Premiership, we'll keep you up to date. Thanks very much to everybody who's joining us. Afternoon, guys, says Catherine Kelly from sunny Spain. Jordan Sanderson says, what happened to the Hibs on Monday, Tam? You see, that's the great thing about it now. On a Saturday, they'll be able to absolutely give you pelters, Tam, if the Hibbies get cuffed.
Yes, what happened? They were terrible. I think that you've seen the fallout from that from the manager this week. I think that he's come out and slaughtered the players. There's more negative publicity this morning about the lad Bojangles who's went back to Gambia. So, listen, I think that they need some positivity about Easter Road, and they can maybe get that tomorrow.
Let's have a look at the Championship for you. Here's the half times going into the second half. It's Arbroath 1, Inverness Cally Thistle 2, Ayr 1, Hamilton Accies 0, Cove Rangers 0, Queen's Park 3. Not a great start for Paul Hartley as he returns as the manager. And Partick Thistle 0, Greenock Morton 0. That's how it looks in the Championship. And League 1 and League 2 to follow shortly as well. But in the Scottish Premiership, thanks very much to so many of you for your mentions. And Nicky Twigg says, was Tam at the EK Turkish Barber this morning? There's a haircut coming, Tam.
Do you know what it is? A different angle.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable on this side of the couch.
Well, I was going to say to you, because Brian says...
My shed's not looking as good.
Brian's just said, Tam is Ruffy's seat warm. Yeah, but it's not very accurate because one of our viewers, Des, doesn't like Ruffy as a pundit. So it may be that seat, or it may be the fact that...
There's girls in this seat, I think. There's plenty over here.
Of course, the big man will be watching. He wants to see your performance. Yeah, it's a Stonewall certainty. Whatever you do, Tam, don't buy a dog and don't let it die on the programme. That's what happened 10 years ago when we started this malarkey on a Saturday afternoon. Anyway, if there's a goal in the Scottish Premiership, we will keep you right up to date with it. We'll also hear from Michael Beale, and we'll hear from Stephen Hamill, Lee Johnson, as well as Stevie Crawford, the assistant of Dundee United, who was talking ahead of those games that are taking place tomorrow. 4 games this afternoon, and I tell you, Partick Thistle have just taken the lead over Morton in the 51st minute. Stephen Lawless has scored the goal there, so the Jags in front, which will keep...
It's a real competitive league, that Championship, isn't it?
It's tight.
Queen's Park at the start of the season, I think, 40-1, and I thought that was quite a big price, and unfortunately I never put any money on them, but they're flying. I think they're going to go 4 points clear, but Partick Thistle, Dundee, they all still have aspirations. United winning, they have aspirations to go up as well, so it's a really, really tight league this year. Yeah, just a quick update on League 1 and League 2 as well. It was Clyde 0, Kelty Hearts 1 at half time. It's into the second half now. Falkirk 2, Montrose 0, FC Edinburgh 0, Dunfermline 1, and Peterhead 0, Airdrieonians 0, Queen of the South 1, Annan 0. And in League 2, it's Alloa, sorry, I beg your pardon. Queen of the South 1, Alloa 0. In League 2, it's Annan 0, Forfar 2, Bonnyrigg Rose 0, Albion Rovers 3, Elgin City 0, East Fife 2, and Stenhousemuir 2, Stranraer 1. There's confirmation of it in League 2 as well. We'll keep you right up to date with any goals as they fly in. And as ever, as you've just heard there, Partick Thistle scoring through Stephen Lawless. We've got lots to discuss because, if anything, when we mentioned there what was going on in the first half of the games in the Scottish Premiership, Tam, the one thing that's been the non-stop discussion has been this VAR. Aberdeen have had a goal chalked off. Certainly any time there is a contentious one, then people are looking at it, scrutinising it more so if it happens in an Old Firm derby. Yep, and obviously it's always something to be talking about, just now with VAR, but I just wonder if in the future they might mic the referees up. They might have a direct link between the VAR studios and the referee, so everyone can listen into why decisions have been made. I know they do it in Australia, I've seen a couple of A-League games. They do it in Australia where you can hear everything that the referee, do it in rugby. You hear everything that the referee's saying to the people back in the VAR studio. So I wonder if that's a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen just now, but I think it would really open everything up to people. It would really be transparent and open, and it would give everyone an opportunity to realise and why referees are making decisions.
Yeah, and can I just say something to you, Tam? 4 minutes into the second half, Hearts are back on level terms, and from long range, Robert Snodgrass has fired one in to the back of the net. Now, I'm a huge fan of Snoddy. He was a guest on a regular basis on this programme in the early years before he moved down to England, but he's a bit of class. He's got that left peg. I thought he was the outstanding player in the derby last week.
Yeah, I think he's still got a lot to offer. I think that he was down in England. He's had a great career down there. I remember playing against him as a kid when he was still in Albion and at Livingston. And he's worked his backside off to have a great career. He's come back up. He's still fit. I think it took him a little bit of time to get himself up and running. He hadn't been playing down the road. I think it was Luton. I think he was at. So he came back up the road. I think the break's been wonders for him. I think that Hearts would have got really stuck into him fitness-wise, and I think you're now seeing a player that's fit and you can see his quality as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Big fan of Robert Snodgrass. You can give us your thoughts on your team and some of the points that have been discussed in the morning papers. I noticed Stephen McGowan in the Scottish Daily Mail, his column, which is always a good read from Stephen, says, for video technology to work in Scotland, it needs to be open and transparent. Conversations between referees and video assistant referees need to be made public. Supporters need to know what officials are saying, thinking, and why they reached that decision in the first place. Now, I don't know about you, that happens in rugby. Are we not advanced enough as a viewing public and as a profession and as a professional organisation to embrace what rugby does and let everybody hear what the referee has to say, hear why the video assistant is advising him in such a way?
Yeah, I obviously just spoke about that. I think that needs to happen in this country. I don't know whether that's going to happen now. I think it will happen in the future. I think it dispels all these conspiracy theories of referees and all this stuff, and these clubs don't never get decisions, they get all the decisions. I think if you can hear the referee speaking to the VAR and it's live on the TV, then I think that can only be good for the game. It can only be good for referees. It takes the pressure off of them. It'll probably give us less to talk about in the media, but yeah. I think that's something that has to come into the game eventually.
You can understand, Tam, why so many guys, and we've got lots of people obviously talking about it here, but you can understand why so many people who don't support Celtic and Rangers just get a little bit scunnered. I can tell you Celtic have scored a second goal. They are now 2-0 up in Kilmarnock, so well happy with their second goal in that game, and I think that really puts them in the box seat. Although you have to be honest with looking at the record, Celtic have won 9 of the last 10 against Kilmarnock, and at home Celtic have just been bomb-proof against Kelly. They always get the wins. The last 5 they've won them.
Yeah, I think Kilmarnock have been really poor away from home this season. I don't think they've picked up many points at all. I don't think they've won actually, so I think that was always going to be a home win for Celtic. It was only a matter of how many. Kilmarnock have managed to keep it tight for 45 minutes, but I think you might see the floodgates opening now.
Yeah, absolutely. 2-0 to Celtic against Kilmarnock, so they are cruising there at the moment in that game, and I think Derek McInnes, I wonder whether it'll alter the way he's going to approach the game, whether he's going to try and have a go and trying to get something back from it. It's always a danger at Celtic Park because as soon as you open up, then Celtic can pick you off even more when they get the space in behind. Give us your thoughts on that as well. And a lot of people... Strachan's laptop, there's a good name on YouTube, isn't it? Correct, Peter. The Scottish mindset isn't compatible with VAR, and also I have to say, apart from anything else, I was mentioning that the VAR is such that, quite simply, when a Rangers and Celtic game is played, we go into overdrive with this. Some people are talking about the paranoia. I mean, Hugh McDonald made a great point on Thursday. Forget about accusing Celtic fans of paranoia. There are 2 occasions when the SFA have been found guilty of misdemeanours against Celtic Football Club. So you can understand why some Celtic fans will continually go back and say, listen, it's happened twice before. They're not going to rule out anything that's gone against them in decisions. And Michael Beale just quickly tried to nipped the whole thing in the bud, saying he thought John Beaton had a good game, and he made the correct decisions. And that's just the nature of this old firm fallout from it. Even Ange Postecoglou, who never usually gets involved in it. I think he's been nobbled, by the way. I think he's been nobbled by somebody just saying to him, Tam, listen, this is a disgrace, mention this.
It probably came from above.
Yeah, it's a stonewall certainty.
No, I think that, Ange is a pretty placid character, isn't he? He doesn't really get involved in stuff like that. I think he just concentrates on his team's performance. And he knows that if he puts a good performance in 9 times out of 10, they'll win the game. But I think with some of the decisions going against Celtic this season, a couple of handballs that they haven't got, and then obviously the one that they did get, then I think that they're well within their rights to go and inquire the SFA about why these decisions are happening. All we can ask for is consistency, and I don't think there's been consistency in decisions, in handball decisions, over the course of the first half of the season. Yeah.
Kyogo getting that second goal for Celtic. Jota got the first one right on the stroke of half time, and once we get to full time, we'll get reaction from managers and players to the games today and see what they have to say about it. We'll also look ahead to the matches tomorrow. Dundee United against Rangers, and a huge match between Hibs and Motherwell as well, because it's so tight at the bottom. We'll hear from Stephen Hamill and Lee Johnson and get Tam's thoughts on whether this is getting to DEFCON 1 with Lee Johnson. Usually if you're a Hibs manager, I think you start to panic around about 19, 20 games, Tam, because the bullet usually kicks in then.
Yeah, it certainly did with Sean Maloney. I think, 22 games, nowhere near enough as a manager. Jack Ross, first bad spell he had, he was chopped. So I think if you're a manager at Hibs and you're looking at the owner, getting it in the itchy fingers with that trigger button, you've got to start winning games. And Hibs have got 3 big games coming up. They've got Motherwell away, Dundee United at home, and then Hearts at home in the Cup. So 3 big games for Lee Johnson. He's got to take, I think, between 4 and 6 points and try and beat Hearts. If he loses all 3 games, then I don't think he'll be there.
Yeah, I can tell you it's Thistle 1, Morton 1. Jack Baird, just before the hour, they are getting the equaliser for Morton. And Queen's Park absolutely battering them at the moment. Simon Murray, who I think was at Hibs for a small short period as well, he scored the 4th goal for Queen's Park.
Got a hat-trick.
I don't think anybody would have predicted that.
Yeah, Paul Hartley's first game. Simon Murray, I think, has scored in 5 consecutive games now in the Championship. Captain of the club. So he bounced about. I think he played in South Africa for a while. He was over there. He's came back to Queen's Park, and he seems to be the leader in there and leading by example with scoring goals. And Queen's Park, we know the money they've got behind them. They've got a real opportunity to go up this season, which would be phenomenal from a team that come up through the playoffs from League One last year. Yeah, Ross Cunningham scoring the goal there to make it Clyde 1, Kelty Hearts 1 after 57 minutes. So as you can see, the goals are flying in. A wee bit of banter, lots of stuff about VAR. Thank you to you for joining us as well, because as ever you get a chance to give us an absolute doing live. I think that's the great thing about it, Tam. Sometimes sometimes you can get full-time scores shows, and it's all stayed, and it's the coat hanger, and it's all official as if it was the 1950s. But to be perfectly honest with you, I like reacting to people talking about their favourite team as well. And thank you very much to everyone who basically has welcomed us to the Saturday. Some people are absolutely delighted with it, and some people think B. Blair says Tam is on the wrong side. See, they don't like you switching over. I think they like you on what is potentially the east side of the city, Tam, rather than the west end of Gorgie, where you don't really sit well. And I think Robert says, Peter, as I asked yesterday, are we still talking about VAR from the last Old Firm game? Why not also talk about Julian's offside goal a few years ago, or is it just too long between events? It's not me, Robert, that's dictating the pace of this. It's just quite simply you get to a situation where managers still comment on it. The players, I'll tell you, Simon Murray scored 5-0 to Queen's Park. That's an absolute tonking. Queen of the South 1, Alloa 1, Connor Salmon. There's a name we haven't heard in a while. It isn't, and he seems to have been a good catch for Alloa.
Yeah, oh, I can't believe you've gone for that early, by the way. You honestly, any chance you could scale the heights with better gags? Hi, Peter and Tam, says John Park. I hope all is well. John, we're delighted you could join us.
John Park, is it?
Eh?
The scout?
No, exactly. John was, I'll tell you one thing, for a man that scouted for Celtic, he can hold his head up high because he knew a player. He could see a player as well, couldn't he?
Yeah, he was at Hibs as well when Mill come through.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was obviously Donald Park at coaches, but John was a big part of that golden generation at Hibs as well. So he certainly knows a player when he sees one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you right now, Tam, it'll take a dramatic twist. I'll just give you a quick look at our predictor table. And the great news, Tam, that I'm going to tell you about shortly. But Ruffy's on 168, I'm on 163, you're on 156. Then it's Tam Cowan at 143, and last year's champion Alison McConnell on 141, and Hugh has just thrown the towel in at 119, hasn't he? It's 52 weeks of predicting Rangers to draw that's absolutely blown him right out of the water. A lot of people have been actually pestering me. I think I've found the right platform for us to bring in the public and all the punters to get involved with us on the predictor, which I think would be absolutely superb.
I think that'd be brilliant. I think there'd be a lot of people picking their scores every week, and I think they'd like to put their wits up against us, see how they would do, and I think they would do a lot better than Hugh anyway. Yeah,
Simon Murray scoring 4 goals. I'm just trying to think of anyone who, I mean, George Best scored 6 goals against Northampton in an FA Cup tie, but 5 goals.
Chris Boyd scored 4 against Dundee United, or 5?
5 against Dundee United. I think Marco Negri
scored 4, I think, or 5 against somebody.
Did Marco Negri not score 5 against Dundee United as well?
Maybe, aye.
Yeah, I mean, I think just before he played squash, there was an injury. But nevertheless, he did actually, I think, score 5. You can remind us of it if you were there, if you watched the game. It's a Saturday afternoon. If you hit the subscribe button, tell your friends. It means that you can actually watch the programme on PLZ Soccer's app. If you download the app, then basically you'll get all the breaking football news, and of course, if it's live, we'll be able to keep you up to date on a Saturday. Monday to Friday, we're on 4 o'clock till 5, and we've also got Kerry with the preview on a Saturday morning ahead of the games with yourself and Ruffy as well. There's a lot of things coming up on PLZ Soccer that hopefully you can join in with us as well. Berbatov, Gary Connor says, scored 5 for United as well. I can't remember which game that was, Gary, but it's very rare you get somebody who scored 5. Bruce Anderson has scored. Ross County 0, Livingston 1. Bruce Anderson scoring that goal, let me tell you. He was obviously there at Aberdeen as well. Didn't quite work out for him. But he looks as if he's happy at Livingston. That's a good goal for them. That's a huge game, because Malky can't buy a win at the moment.
I think I was the only one that took Livingston in predictor. I quite fancied Livingston today. Bruce Anderson, still quite a reasonably young player.
Yeah.
I think he needed to go somewhere and be the main man. He seems to be that at Livingston. I think David Martindale really rates him, and he's played in a lot of games. I think with the big Newbley out injured as well, he's getting a run in the team. So I think he's got goals in him. I think he fits in well with their style of play at Livingston, and big goal for them, possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. The refs will call him up there at Dingwall, so let's wait half an hour just to see if that goal.
Might be chopped off.
If that goal still stands. Sorry, great, I love a noise up. But County 1 point from 15. It's just not good for Malky. He needs to do something with that as well. But interesting to see how that game pans out, because if Ross County were to lose again, the last thing you want to do is to become slowly but surely cut off at the bottom of the table. I'm told that Chris Boyd has scored 5 for Kilmarnock and scored 5 for Rangers as well. So one thing about Boyd in the Premier League, I thought he was one of those boys, maybe not a lot of movement, but when he was in that penalty box, Tam, he knew the way to go.
Yeah, he's a 6-yard box striker, wasn't he? He didn't take part in the game. He just
by the way, he still does it at 5.
He just stood in the box and waited for supply to come in. But no, not only the great record at Rangers, but a great record at Kilmarnock as well, a provincial club. So he was a very good goal scorer in Scottish football. Yeah, okay, Saturday afternoon we are talking basically about anything that you want to discuss in your team as well. You can message us if you download the PLZ Soccer app. What we're going to do coming up, I can tell you, it's
Daniel Mackay, who scored for Inverness Cali in their match. So that's 3-1 up now. That's a big call for...
Result last week, 6-1. By the way, Cove have took 2 tankings in the last 2 weeks.
What about the demise? I was just about to say, what about the demise of Arbroath?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, that's a poor result. I mean, it looks as if it's a straight fight between them and Hamilton Accies at the bottom, but Inverness, great result last week after a poor run. Billy Dodds under a bit of pressure.
Yeah.
Signed a few bodies in the January window, and they've reacted well to that. But that's a 5 and a 6 in the last 2 weeks for Cove.
Yeah, I was just about to say to you, 9th and 10th at the start of the play today between Arbroath and Hamilton Accies, but Inverness Cali Thistle, I think they were looking up the table, but they started off at 7th today, and that would be a welcome 3 points at the end, if indeed it all finishes that way. Saturday afternoon, Livingston have scored again. Bruce Anderson's banged in his 2nd of the afternoon. What a day he's having, and misery for Malky. I'll tell you one thing he needs help quickly. He needs to get bodies in there if they can't get goals. They had a bit of a disciplinary problem as well, Tam, because Malky Mackay didn't want to dwell too much on it, but quite simply there was a couple of players that just did not feature. Laturi and Akio, suddenly they were back available for selection, but apart from suspensions, the last thing you need is indiscipline within the squad that results in them not playing in games.
Yeah, obviously I don't think Everton and the Gardens rosy at the minute at Ross County. They're on a bad run of form. Players stepping out of line, disciplinary measures. So, you're right. Malky needs to go and sign a goal scorer, because they are struggling to score goals. They're struggling to create chances. I've seen them a few times this season. They're missing obviously Hungbo and Reagan Charles Cook. That was 20-25 goals at their team for last year. Plus assists, so they've not replaced him, and if they don't replace him, they're going to be in the Championship next year. Yeah,
the other thing I was going to say to you is, I was reading Shamal George saying that the team spirit at Livy is fantastic. It's not about phones, it's about playing games, interacting with each other on the bus if they're on long trips. What was it like in your day when you were on away trips? Was the banter good?
Yeah, it was, particularly in Scotland. I think if you go to Aberdeen or Inverness, then it's always, if you get a result, it's always a quick journey back down the road, isn't it? If you get a poor result, then it can seem as if it's the longest journey in the world. But when I went to America and played, particularly Rochester, we went to a lot of away games in the bus, and some of them were 7-8. We went from Rochester to Richmond, Virginia, which was 14 hours. We went in a sleeper bus, so everybody had their own little bed on the bus, which was new for me as well. So you've got to get on with your teammates. Can you imagine getting the bus back up the road after getting beat?
There was a bed on the bus?
There was beds on. It was a huge big bus, and there was beds on it, a sleeper bus. They do that a lot in America, but I always thought, Inverness away, that's some trick, or Ross County away. Yeah. And then we go to America.
I was just about to say to you.
Some at Pittsburgh and places like that, you're driving in the bus 6-7 hours, so no. It'll be a good journey back down the road for Livingston if they can hang on to the 3 points. Yeah, bed on the bus. I'm not too sure Ruffy would have been a good idea signing for Rochester, to be perfectly honest with you, but nevertheless. In the Scottish Premiership, Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 0, Celtic 2-0 up on Kilmarnock, Ross County 0, Livingston 2, as you've just heard there, Bruce Anderson with a double, and St Mirren 1, Hearts 1. Snodgrass has equalised after Ryan Strain scored from a free kick. Snoddy hitting one with his left peg. I just thought middle of the park, he makes 5 and 10-yard passes look so easy at times. It's an absolute joy to watch him. If you're talking about midfielders, for me, this is why I crave good midfielders, Tam. I loved watching Stephen Davis again, could see a pass, can play between the lines. Scott Allen as well. And of course, no doubt about it, I think Callum McGregor is the best midfielder in Scotland at the moment. Some people might disagree with it, but he's just one of those guys that keeps everything going like a well-oiled machine. Yeah, I think he's a top player. I think he's always been a good player. I think with Scott Brown departing Celtic, I think it left a void, left a hole for somebody to come in and be the leader, and I think they're totally different leaders and different players. I think like Callum would lead by example, his performances and the way he trains. I think with Scott it was getting the respect of his teammates on the pitch and being that leader, that figurehead in the team. But Callum McGregor, I genuinely think he could play anywhere. I think he could play anywhere. He's so comfortable on the ball. He could go and play in England if he wanted, but I think he'll it looks as if now he probably finished his career at Celtic.
Yeah, well, I think it is a stonewall certainty. I have to tell you, by the way, that when he was playing at Notts County, they were absolutely desperate to sign him. They were asking constantly, can we have him? You know, he was, and then Celtic said, no, he's coming back to Celtic. I think you're absolutely right. He could play easily top half of the Premier League. He's been superb, makes the game look easy. As again, strangely enough, we'll hear from Michael Beale a little later on, but when you lose the likes of a Stephen Davis, when you've lost the Hadjis in the middle of the park, you have to look and hope you can get someone who can fill that void. And I think there's a huge area in the middle. I mean, Arfield's getting on as well. There's a huge area where Rangers have to fill and find a good midfielder. They don't come cheap. I'm curious to see, what type of player he's going to get in before that window closes.
I think that Hadji could be that man. I think if he's obviously...
He could be back at the end of the month, by the way.
I think that's a huge boost for Rangers. I think he's a top player. I think he's very good. He can play in that hole behind the striker. Unfortunately for Rangers, Tom Lawrence, again, who looked the part, excellent record at Derby County, came up, started really well at Rangers, scored an important goal in the Champions League qualifier against the USG. So I think if you can get the two back, you wouldn't probably need to go and sign somebody like that, but I don't know how far Lawrence is away. It seems to be that there's no been word to him. He could be kind of longer term, but Hadji would come back and give Rangers a big lift in there.
Yeah, Rab Nesbitt, this is Rab D Nesbitt, not Rab C. He's actually just mentioned, he says, get Ruffy back on for my gran, she's doing my nut in. So there's a level of appeal, and at 71, Ruffy's cornered a certain market, whereas you've got that middle section, Tam. It's Saturday afternoon, it's our first of what we hope will be many. Actually, we used to do this on a regular basis, Tam, amazingly, over when we started 10 years ago. Myself, Macca, Gordon Smith, Ruffy, Hugh McDonald, as you know, has been here 10 years. And of course it became hugely labour intensive, but I'm delighted that it's back because we've added Champions League, which is superb. I think you're almost certainly going to get more than a trip out of Liverpool for next season, Champions League. Kerry's got a preview show. Adam's out and about doing lots of good things that we've got coming up. So there's lots of different programming. We get Dream Team, we'll get that game, we'll get lots of content that people live and pre-recorded that they'll be able to watch.
Yeah, as I say, it's great if you're a football fan. Obviously, we've got a lot of expats. I know I've got several over in America.
Yeah.
We tune into the show every day, obviously at different times. But they want their fix of Scottish football. When you're out with Scotland, you feel as if you're missing out. And I think this show every day and on a Saturday now, it gives you your fix of Scottish football. You keep up to date with everything that's going on. And I think that's a massive thing for people who maybe are living outside Scotland. Yeah,
especially if we're travelling into Europe. We're bound to be in a situation where sooner or later we don't actually need to book into hotels because people are letting us stay at their house. There's a goal for Aberdeen as well, which is a huge one, I have to say. That's Aberdeen 1, St Johnstone 0. And again, it's Gonzalo who scored the goal, so that's huge for them. I think they need a result today to try and get the flack that's coming Jim Goodwin's way.
Yep, huge game I think for Aberdeen today. We've seen bits and pieces of the first half. They were definitely the dominant side, and I think they've continued that in the second half. St Johnstone weren't posing much of a threat, so that could be a massive goal for Aberdeen. And it just keeps him, keeps him in that mix for third place as well.
Yep, absolutely. He's got one of those triple-barreled names, but Duke is a really good player for Aberdeen because, quite simply, I think the first half there he scored a goal. It was a nice quick free kick and he rifled it with his left foot. But this one's a little bit more of a direct one. Poor defending by St Johnstone. Long route one ball and Duke gets on the end of it, fires it into the back of the net. Aberdeen are a goal up on St Johnstone, and I think that is absolutely massive for the Dons. Can they hold on? Can St Johnstone get back into it? Only time will tell. We'll keep you right up to date with that. You can interact with us. Thanks to everyone posting messages to us as well, because quite simply we'll be able to interact with you. And curiously enough, Tam, as we will try and give people as many different bits of content as possible. What you'll also be able to do, which is an interesting one, I'm not too sure too many people will bite in early, is quite simply that you can download the PLZ Soccer app, and on it there's a section called submissions. You can post a message in there, but it also has a section where you can record yourself and you can put your point of view, and if we put it on the programme, Tam, you could be on the programme with us. It's simple as that. You just need to tell us your point of view, record yourself. There have been
vetted.
It does get vetted beforehand. So all if you feel confident enough to actually video yourself, then
that'd be great to see.
Can you imagine it? By the way, yeah, we should give a wee prize.
I like the anonymity of the YouTube feed.
I wish you could say anonymity. It'd be great. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think the fact about YouTube is some people think, if you put in a false name, you can get away with it. But there are some people who are articulate enough who will be able to actually, fire it in. And if you want to do that, all you have to do is download the PLZ Soccer app and then go into submissions. You record it, it drops into our server, and then a quick little bit of editing from our geniuses in our production team. And Bob's your uncle. At the end of a game, you could be actually on the programme. We'll hear from Kerry Pollock, Adam Binney, who are out there. We'll hear from the managers at the end of the game, possibly some players, and over and above that, 6-0 now for Queen's Park. I mean, the last thing you want. I was just about to say, the last thing you want to do is you're there with a scarf. You welcome back Paul Hartley. It's great times, and then suddenly, and I think they were 8th in the division at the time. They don't want to go back down to League One.
No, they don't. But I think they'll be fine. I think that Hamilton Accies are in massive trouble. I think they could get relegated this season. There's still a pretty much a big gap there between the both teams. But I think once Paul gets in there, I think he'll. After today, I think he'll make improvements, and they've done well at Cove Rangers in the past.
Yeah, it takes a wee bit of time. Now, here's a good one from Stuart, who says, if Queens get up, would they play at Hampden? Well, I think they'd play at lesser Hampden.
Yeah, they're building it. They're moving into it. I think they're beginning of next season.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing how, there was all that furore at the time over when Gus was the manager about certain individuals who may well have been paid or not paid at the time. Queen's Park, for over a century, it's an unusual situation where basically paid expenses. That's it. I'll tell you, Ross County have got a goal back. Ross County won Livingston 2, so suddenly Ross County, the fight back is on. Can they get an equaliser in that game? They desperately need something to happen for them up at Dingwall. I know Jan the Staggy is one of those big fans of the show, not as big a fan of Ruffy because he's tipped them to get relegated for about 9 years solid. Jordan White scores with a header.
Hopefully there's no more goals in that game. Just referee blows a whistle.
Yeah, because you've got 2-1, haven't you?
Yes.
The predictor, I forgot all about that, Tom. We will talk about that. We will hear from Michael Beale. He is talking ahead of the game against Dundee United. Stevie Crawford also, and we'll find out about Dundee United's preparations in that game. And of course, the other match, which really looking forward to, down there at Fir Park for Motherwell against Hibs on the Sunday, which is going to be a cracker because Lee Johnson definitely needs some kind of reaction after the Derby game. I have to say, apart from the fact he's receiving a lot of flack, and rightly so, because managers have to live and die by results, but quite simply, when you look at what's been happening in the Derby match, they did create chances. There were a few moments where, with a little bit better quality, and I'm talking about Johan in the first half, if he scores, suddenly it's game on again in that Derby.
Yeah, it's just big moments in games, and Hibs are not taking advantage of their big moments. And as you said, right before half time, that if that goes in 2-1, you're shooting into your own fans at Tynecastle. You've got the momentum into the second half. There's every opportunity to get a result out of the game. He dilly-dallies too long on the ball, and he lets the defender, I think it was Civic, get back in and tackle him. So moments in the game are not going Hibs' way, and those moments will come again on Sunday, and you've got to be ruthless at both ends of the park. And I just think Hibs have got the quality to go and beat Motherwell. I think that I feel as if I'm saying this all season. I feel as if I'm saying this all season. But Listen, Nisbet, McGeady, McGuinness, they've got some good players. Cadden's a good player. I think Joe Neal's a good player.
Yeah, they've got 5 or 6 of a nucleus. Can I tell you that the Ross County goal has been ruled out through VAR? The one thing that I think has changed dramatically, and God knows what it's going to be like in 20, 30 years from now when another generation has to watch the modern game. But I don't know about you, Tam, but I love that immediate celebration of a goal, and it's slowly but surely being eradicated now. You have to wait for VAR.
VAR's sucked it out of the game. That's the only thing that I would say is negative about VAR. I think if you're a football fan, you want to see the big decisions right. And if you're watching the TV or at the game, you want to see the big decisions being called right. But that you're right, that immediate euphoria of many times you've been at a game and I've watched a game, a last minute goal. I've played in games, I've scored a last minute goal. You lose, it's like an out of body experience for 10 seconds. And you'll see players now who score a last minute winner and just jog away and think, I need to wait. Yeah. And then they'll celebrate once the VAR check's over. And it just takes a lot out of the game.
I don't know who's on VAR, but it's a kind of a role reversal now, because Willie Collum is listening to someone back at the headquarters. I was amazed he actually showed us where the building was, because if anything, I thought it was going to be a nuclear bunker, for VAR. I'll shout to Willie from a place where nobody knows where we are, but I have to say the technology is superb at the VAR studios, and the referees have the latest technology on all the screens. I think they've got a bank of maybe 8 or 9 screens where they can look upon all the angles and then quickly try and get the decision or advise the referee. That's the key here. Advise the referee on what they've witnessed and then maybe get the referee to look at it if need be. But Willie Collum clearly has left Jordan White more than a little miffed, because he thought he got Ross County back into the game. But no, Bruce Anderson's double is certainly the story from up there at Dingwall at the moment, where Livingston will get all 3 points unless something dramatic happens in the last 7 minutes of that game, and I can't see it quite happening. Although, as a commentator, Tam, even in games, you never ever wanted to actually just quickly suddenly say, oof, that's it, second goal, it's all over. As never mind being a commentator, as a guy who sent out a tweet when Hearts were 2-0 up in the Scottish Cup, and boy did the Hibs fans absolutely leather me when they equalised.
You've never deleted it.
I know, you can't delete it, can you?
You could, but you never.
No,
somebody would have screenshotted it, you'd have haunted you forever.
That's the other thing.
The same as my comment in my Daily Record column last year, where I can't wait for Hearts to get relegated because Hibs will spank them. Now, every time Hearts beat Hibs, I get a barrage of that column and abuse. But they've got to give your opinion. Can
I just say something to you? Jim Goodwin will be jumping up and down on the trackside, giving it Yahoo 3 points. Duke has scored again, 2-0. I think the great thing about your man up at Aberdeen, Graham Shinney, coming back is he's a quality player. He'll add that little bit of solidity, sensible passing, wee bit of bite. I like Graham because he's got a bit of needle about him. But every time I've watched up at Pittodrie or even on the road, Aberdeen with Duke, he looks as if, Tam, he's a player that they're going to find it difficult to hold on to him if he keeps scoring goals. He's got a couple today.
Yeah, he's lively. I think him and Majowski up front, two new signings for Aberdeen. I think both of them have done well this season. He's tricky in the box, he's got low centre of gravity, and Aberdeen fans have really took to him. So, there's nothing more that endears the Celtic supporters than scoring goals.
Yeah, I meant to say to you, I wonder what happened with Ramirez. I mean, he was...
last week, he came out, I think it was in Siberia, and flew him in last week.
I saw him on the bench, actually, and I thought to myself, he was like Miofsky, he was the darling of the crowd at one point.
Yeah, well, he obviously came for the MLS. Stevie Glass got him over and doing well from America, and last season I think he was Aberdeen's top scorer, so I thought he would have been back to the MLS. I don't think he'd have hung about at Aberdeen, but he seems to have stuck it out, and he played last week in a 0-0 draw. I don't think he's playing today, so no, he's still there and he's still a good option off the bench for Aberdeen.
Queen of the South 1, Alloa 2. Ross McIver with the goal there for Alloa. So it's Aberdeen leading by 2-0. Celtic 2-0 up in Kilmarnock and looking comfortable there. And St Mirren 1, Hearts 1. Is there a winner in that match? Ross County 0, Livingston 2. Jordan White's just had a goal disallowed through VAR. And I can tell you, Inverness Cally Thistle are now 4-1 up at Arbroath. Lewis Nicholson's added a fourth for Billy Dodds' side, and I don't think anybody would want to be in the dressing room with Dick Campbell after that game, because now they really are just battling it out with Hamilton at the bottom end of the table. Hamilton behind to Ayr United at the moment. Cove Rangers have been spanked 6-0 against Queen's Park and Cove at home, and it's still Thistle 1, Greenock Morton 1. Ruffy will be wondering if there's a winner there for Ian McCall's side. Thistle really should be doing better.
Yeah, I think that they started the season really strongly. I think they, heavily invested in the squad. I think they brought in some quality players, but they had a little, lull over the Christmas period, just before Christmas. But they started the back with decent results, and it's just going to be a very, very tight league. You seen it last night. I don't know if you watched. I watched Wraith Rovers against Dundee last night. Yeah. Good game of two halves. There are nightclubs and pubs you can go to, and you can have a right good laugh. No, I'd rather watch the Championship games or Premiership games and the English games. I love watching all the Scottish football, and Wraith Rovers were excellent first half last night, 1-0, and then Dundee came back strongly, and it's a draw, and it looks as if there's going to be another draw between Thistle and Morton. Two clubs up there, so I think you'll find it's been a great weekend for Queen's Park, who now probably go 4 points clear. Yeah, Aidan Conley scored the goal for Wraith Rovers, and then Jordan McGee with that late equaliser for Dundee. It's been some transformation for Dundee when you think about it and the trouble they've had over the last couple of years. Yep, I'd like to see, obviously one of my old clubs, I'd like to see them back in the Premier League. They're a big club. I think they took 1,400 fans down to Kirkcaldy last night on a Friday night in January, so that shows you the level of support that they've got. I think you need your big clubs in the top division, and include Dundee, the likes of Dunfermline, Falkirk, big clubs, big towns who you want to see in the top league, and I'd like to see Dundee back in the Premier League next year. Yeah, Clyde 1, Kelty Hearts 2, Docherty from the penalty spot, although Martin's been sent off in that game, so big result for Kelty there if they can hold on from the penalty spot. Docherty scored, and it's now 2-1. And in the SPFL, in the Scottish Premiership, we are now heading into stoppage time in those games and any additional time that's going to be added on, but it looks as if we are heading for 3 games where we've got a decisive result, and only one with that bit of uncertainty, which is St Mirren against Hearts, which I think actually is just a wee bit behind everyone else, Tam. So I wonder if indeed, as they head into the latter part of that, if there's a winner in it, because Hearts will be desperately hoping that they can keep the pressure on Rangers. I think it's a forlorn hope. I think anybody who basically, after the press conferences yesterday, must have said to Toby, listen, calm your jets, by the way, unless James Anderson gives us 50 million, we're not closing the gap. How many times has that happened when a team's started? But I mean, even when I was playing, I remember I was at Hibs and we'd started, I think we'd split, you were splitting Rangers and Celtic at Christmas. Yeah. And what went wrong then, Tam? Is it the mentality or the lack of quality? I think it's a lack of depth in your squad. Yeah. We had a great team under Alec McLeish, Russell Latapi, Frank Soze, Matthias Jack, David Zatelli, really, really strong team. We went up in December and beat Dundee United at Tannadice. Sam actually came on and scored the winning goal that game, and all the talk after that was we're going to split the Old Firm, and the lack of depth, a bit hard in February, March, April, when there was loads of games, and we just didn't have the strength of squad at the Old Firm. I think there's only one. Was it Hearts under Josh Burley? Yeah, 13. Yep. Yeah, but that was early. Yep. Then they dropped away. Yep. I was just going to say to you, apart from lack of depth, when you were actually there at the top, did you believe that you could do it? Was there a belief, or did you just think, did you have not a strong enough mentality? No, I think we had the belief. I just think that we had 2 or 3 huge players, and if one of them gets injured, you're struggling. And it's just, Celtic Rangers have got big players, but they've got quality international players to come in. We never had that. Yeah. Because I was speaking to your gaffer last week, and he's coming on the show. I was having a chat with Alec, and he's absolutely magnificent. Alec was brilliant. He definitely had the mentality. He knew to beat the Old Firm. Yep. We had some great results against Celtic Rangers under Alex. Yeah. What was it about him? Was it that infectious attitude individually as a man manager, or a collective? I think he had everything as a manager. I think he had the fear factor, he had the respect. Obviously, he was a great player at Aberdeen. He won trophies at Aberdeen. He was a great player. He had that fear factor. If you're on the end of one of Alex's rollickins, then you knew all about it. You wanted to do well for him. I loved him to bits. I thought he was a great tactician. He knew he knew what to do at the right time in games, and I thought he was a great man manager as well. You know, he could honestly, he could play well one week and he could come in and drop you, and you wouldn't feel bad about it, because he would massage your ego and say, you know, you're a big part of your future and all that, and you're doing really well, but you're not playing today.
Yeah, I remember Gary Neville saying that about Sir Alex Ferguson. He said,
obviously took that from.
I was going to say to you, I'm saving you for the game next week.
He was done that all the time. And we used to have a laugh, because we used to have a pre-match meal with Alex away games, and you didn't want to get the shout for Big Eck. Big Eck would come out for the coaches table and just say, Tam, and all the chuckles would start going, because you know you were dropped. I remember he done it, big Yogi one day, playing with Hibs, and he done it with Yogi, and Yogi come back and says, aye, trapped. And nobody started laughing.
No wonder.
Usually we take the mickey at each other and go, oh, you're trapped and all that, but nobody said that in the big Yogi.
No, I was just about to say to you, listen, you could be getting to that point if you've even got a bet on the bookies. You could be actually just ripping the paper up now, because we're getting very, very close to full time. Cove Rangers 0, Queen's Park 6. What a day for Simon Murray with 4 goals there. Absolutely magnificent for him. Still a bit of quality, still knows his way to goal, and he's proved it there. Always good when you can get 4. You get, I don't know what you get. You get the match ball. What do you get? The referee's whistle and something else. You get the goalkeeper's top.
Never scored 3 of mine 4, Peter.
Did you never get a hat-trick?
Not in senior football.
No?
I was the closest I'd been was against Celtic at Parkhead, when I'd 1 chopped off for offside. I scored 2 that game. And I'd 1 that was miles onside. I've still got the video. I need to try and bring it in. I think it's VHS. Yeah. Where I scored a hat-trick. But I scored 2 maybe 4 or 5 times, never quite got a hat-trick.
Well, can I just say something to you? Would you believe it? Thistle have got a late winner to win it 2-1 against Morton. All 3 points in the bag. What about that, Tam? Because right at the death, Docherty's popped up there and scored the winner for Thistle. Jags beating Morton 2-1.
Huge result. You know, we spoke about how tight it's going to be in that league. 3 points are crucial, you know, and that keeps him in the mix. I believe they go to Dundee next week away from home, Partick Thistle. So that is an absolutely huge game. Dundee have got Partick Thistle and Queen's Park back to back at home. So, you know, it's. I think you're looking at them. They're looking at the 3 teams, 2 teams, and you're maybe looking at United as well. But there's some big games coming up in that league. Yeah, can I just say to you, St Mirren against Hearts has finished 1-1, so we will hear from Adam Binney shortly to get his match report on that one. Up at Dingwall as well, it's finished Ross County 0, Livingston 2. But off the back of that derby win against Hibs, that, no disrespect to St Mirren because they've been going well, but that is a slip up from Hearts. They were hoping to keep the momentum going there, but they haven't been able to do it because St Mirren, and full credit to them, they took the lead, and then Ryan Strain's goal, the equaliser, came from Robert Snodgrass. That's 2 points dropped. Yeah, I think it is. I think that Hearts have been excellent since they come back for the break. You know, they go to St Mirren, but that's a difficult game. I think St Mirren have been excellent at home this season. Last we've seen them to beat Celtic, the only team that's beat Celtic this season at home. So they are difficult to beat out there, and you know it might turn out to be a decent point for Hearts, but I think the Hearts supporters will be disappointed that they didn't go there and get 3.
Yeah, so Thistle win it by 2-1 against Morton in the Championship. Queen's Park have had a great day against Cove. They won 6-0 away from home. Ayr United just edged Hamilton out. More problems at Accies there for John Rankin's side. And then over and above that, it's Arbroath 1, Inverness Cally Thistle 4. So we're fast approaching all the full times. We'll bring you them in the Premiership, Championship, League 1 and League 2. We'll also look at the predictor, Tam, and see exactly where our points have been won and lost, because in the Premiership, Aberdeen looks as if all 3 points are in the bag with a 2-0 win over St Johnstone. Celtic 2-0 and comfortable with Jota and Kyogo with the goals. And Ross County 0, Livingston 2. Bruce Anderson with a double today, and I think that's a really good result. Livingston have been superb under David Martindale, and they're going to be in full time, I can tell you, up at Pittodrie. What a confidence boosting win for the Dons.
Yeah, that's a massive result. I think you know, they'd obviously a sicky spell just after the break there. You know, last week 0-0 against Ross County at home, not acceptable for Aberdeen. You know, to be dropping points at home to Ross County. Against St Johnstone at home today, half time 0-0, big 45 minutes for Jim Goodwin, but they've came up trumps. By all accounts, they deserve to win the game. You know, they dominated the game for large spells, and I tell you what, it's not been a good start back for St Johnstone. I think they've lost every game. since they came back for the break. So,
yes, four defeats in a row.
Yep, so, you know, all of a sudden from them being looking at 4th, 5th, maybe top 6, they're now looking over their shoulder as well.
Yeah, Billy says Celtic absolutely battered Killie, hit the bar and the post, lost count how many times, because quite simply they were dominant at home. I mentioned the fact that 9 out of the last 10 games Celtic have taken maximum points against Kilmarnock. They have been the dominant force against them. Killie have not been a thorn in Celtic's side. In fact, I think we were going back yesterday, we were talking about even in the League Cup, obviously Celtic are going to take on Kilmarnock again, but the last time the two were head to head in a League Cup final was back in 2012. Van Tarnow sticks in my head, who scored the goal for Killie to win the League Cup. And I think Kenny Shields was the manager.
He was. I was at United and Kilmarnock beat Ayr in the semi-final. And obviously Celtic got into that game huge favourites, and it's very unusual for a provincial club, a Kilmarnock, to beat an Old Firm team in the final.
Yeah.
They managed to do that. Fair play to them. And it might be a long time since they won an R Cup, so that team will be rightly revered for a long time.
Yes, a day of doubles. We mentioned Bruce Anderson's double, and Duke has scored a couple of goals up there at Pittodrie. Could have had a hat-trick. One of them was chalked off. Very tight, I'm told, just an elbow on that line that is quickly drawn, and as soon as you see the elbow out there, my God, I've seen some decisions where it's a toenail that's been adjudged to be offside. But up there at Pittodrie, it's a big win for Jim Goodwin, and that really will relieve a lot of the pressure. And of course, you'll be hoping to get a few more faces, not only in the side, but maybe a little bit of a response from the players who are there, I have to tell you. And I'm just telling you right now, there's a VAR check, St Mirren against Hearts. It looks like Marcus Fraser's been sent off in that game as well. So, 1-1. We thought it was full time, but there's a VAR check which has delayed things. And Strain's goal after 4 minutes, Snodgrass 4 minutes into the second half, 1-1. Whether that affects that result, whether Hearts can actually get the all-important winning goal in it, only time will tell. Give us your thoughts on what you think about your team's performance today, and of course, if you are a fan of Dundee United or Rangers, tomorrow we'll hear from Stevie Crawford, the Dundee United assistant, Michael Beale as well, and we will look towards Motherwell against Hibs. That's tomorrow's games. Previews on the way before we go off air at 6 o'clock, and we'll also get reaction from that match between St Mirren and Hearts, and not forgetting Celtic against Kilmarnock as well. Kerry Pollock and Adam Binney, our reporters out at the games. We will bring you more and more from PLZ Soccer. Hi to Keith Fife, who has just joined us. Keith, where have you been? Yeah. I mean, that's outrageous, Tom. You can't join us at 5 o'clock. You missed a great hour where we practically gave everybody a prize away. We gave cars, we've given houses away, the lot. Keith, where have you been? Yeah, exactly. We've done that before in an after dinner, haven't we, Tom? Anyway, Stuart Derrick says, is PLZ on tomorrow, Peter? Stuart, I want you to take a long, hard look at yourself, by the way. We've just
7 days a week.
7 days a week. If we manage to get taxpayers' money from the BBC, Tam, or indeed some kind of sponsorship from Sky Sports, then we're on 7 days. Yes. But until that happens, it's not happening at the moment.
No, you need a day off.
Oh, absolutely. You need to go to the pictures or have a wee night out and a meal. I like one of those Sunday afternoon jaunts out for a wee bit of lunchtime and enjoy ourselves. Okay. We'll be getting reports from full time across the SPFL. We're just waiting on confirmation on it. But Marcus Fraser was sent off 5 minutes into injury time in that one. And I think everywhere else it's finished. Stenhousemuir 2, Stranraer 1 is a full-time score that's coming in as well for us from the Scottish League 2. But elsewhere, a quick summary of it, Tam. Aberdeen 2, St Johnstone 0, Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0, Ross County 0, Livingston 2, and just waiting on confirmation of full time at Hearts, where it looks as if that's the only game to deliver a draw.
Yep, some big results today. I think that everyone expected Celtic to beat Kilmarnock. Don't think that's a surprise. Livingston, fantastic result up at Ross County.
Yep.
It keeps them in the mix for the top 6. Aberdeen again, it was a must-win for them. I think for Jim Goodwin, it just eases the pressure on Jim. I think after last week, drawn 0-0 at home to Ross County, Aberdeen fans not happy with that result. But they get a comfortable win today, which, as I said, keeps them in 4th place as well. So, obviously, we're still waiting the outcome of the Hearts St Mirren game. I think they're playing to midnight, but it looks as if it's going to be a draw. So, no, it's been a good afternoon of Scottish football, and some teams moving up the table.
Yeah, full time. St Mirren 1, Hearts 1. I've got 7 points to hand from the predictor. That's not. I'm happy with a 7-point return. I'm just wondering. I had Hearts to win. I had Ross County and Livingston to share the spoils, but it didn't quite work out. But I had 5 points for Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0. The only one that kind of does my head in is I didn't have Aberdeen scoring 2 goals. My God, they could have scored 3 today. One was chalked off from VAR. But I think Duke will be a happy man. We will hear from Adam Binney on that St Mirren Hearts game, which is just finished. That was the last of them to finish. And we'll also hear from Kerry Pollock with Celtic Kilmarnock. As soon as those full-time reports come in, we'll also bring you a reaction from the managers as well. In the Championship, I can tell you the biggest scoreline has to be Simon Murray scoring 4 of a 6-0 win for Queen's Park against Cove Rangers up there in Aberdeen. It's Arbroath 1, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 4, Ayr United 1, Hamilton Accies 0, and then Partick Thistle right at the death, Docherty scoring the goal to give them a 2-1 win over Greenock Morton. Elsewhere in League 1, Clyde 1, Kelty Hearts 2, Falkirk 2, Montrose 1, Edinburgh 0, Dunfermline 1, Peterhead 0, Airdrieonians 3, and Queen of the South 1, Alloa Athletic 2, and into Scottish League 2, Annan Athletic 0, Forfar 2, Bonnyrigg Rose 0, Albion Rovers 4. What a spanking that was for Bonnyrigg Rose. Elgin City 1, East Fife 2, and Stenhousemuir 2, Stranraer 1. We're just waiting on confirmation on that match finishing. But I have to tell you, Bonnyrigg Rose 0, Albion Rovers 4. I mean, we were there for a...
won a game since?
Well, I was just about to say, we were there for a testimonial, Tom. Thoroughly enjoyed the day, but Bonnyrigg Rose, I mean, they were sitting 8th this morning, so I don't think they'll be looking and thinking they're worried about their place in that division.
No, they started the season very strongly, Bonnyrigg, and ever since we went to their testimonial day, they've plummeted down the table. Must be the Jonah striking again, but great result for Albion Rovers. Big Brian Reid, the ex-manager of mine at United. Not got a lot of money at Albion Rovers, but that's a shocker. I think that's a bit of a coupon buster. That I don't think many would have had Albion Rovers to win that game.
Yeah. I have to tell you that the goals scored today at Celtic Park, Celtic dominant, as you would expect at home, again grinding out the result in the end. Constant possession, of course, chances coming thick and fast, and Maeda was the supplier for the first goal right on the stroke of half-time. Jota just nicking in. I think a lot of people thought Kyogo got the last touch on it, but it was Jota who scored that goal. He was restored to the starting lineup for the match and scored the goal, the all-important one for Celtic. And then the second one added 6 minutes into the second half. I think actually a lot of people thought Kyogo was the man to get the goal, but Ash Taylor has been attributed with an own goal in that one there. So it's Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0. More misery for Derek McInnes. If anything, he'll have to work out some kind of strategy to try and stop a similar scoreline in the League Cup semi-final.
Yeah, listen, I think it's always difficult when you come up against Celtic, particularly in this sort of form that they're in. And obviously they go to Hampden, big pitch. Celtic got a great record at Hampden over the last 4, 5, 6 years. Kilmarnock go there as huge underdogs. Derek will try the same system, try the same style of play, try and keep it tight, try and stay in the game, because I think if they open up against Celtic, they get beat 4 or 5-0 at Hampden. So listen, Kilmarnock done well to get there, but I don't think most people would expect them to get a result against Celtic at Hampden. Yeah,
and of course of the other results, it was a good day up at Pittodrie for Luis Duque Lopez, who bagged himself a couple of goals up there against St Johnstone. I think he could have had a hat-trick. He certainly scored early on. A good quick free kick, but he just moved a few inches ahead of that St Johnstone back line. He was adjudged to have strayed into an offside position. He dispatched the ball, I can tell you, really well into the back of the net, but it was chalked off, but that was just really a taster for what was to come in the second half, because he bagged his first in 74 minutes, route one for the opening goal for Aberdeen. Poor defending by St Johnstone, which is not something you would attribute to Callum Davis's side pre-World Cup, but after the World Cup, the 4 games that they've now played, they've lost all 4 of them. Duke scored after 74, and then 10 minutes later he added his second of the afternoon to give them a comfortable 2-0 win, and I think that really will just give Jim Goodwin a bit of time just to steady the ship, ask Dave Cormack if he's got a wee bit more money, and then get some more players in as well before that window closes.
Yeah, it keeps them within touch of Hearts as well. I think Aberdeen's still sitting in 4th place. They gained 2 points on Hearts today, who dropped a couple, so just keeps him in the mix for 3rd place. And as I said, I think he'll be looking to. He's obviously just signed Shinnie and the Slovakian boy, whose name escapes me at the minute. So I think that there'll be another couple. Try and get in at Aberdeen.
Yeah, we're not too far away from giving you the classified full-time scores right across all 4 divisions in Scotland. We're going to start off hopefully with the Premiership, and then from there we'll work our way down through the divisions. Aberdeen 2, St Johnstone 0, Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0, Ross County 0, Livingston 2, St Mirren 1, Hearts 1. That's how it looks in the Premiership. Celtic with a 12-point advantage at the top before Rangers head to Tannadice to take on Dundee United. In the Championship, this is how it all panned out. Clyde 1, Kelty Hearts 2, FC Edinburgh 0, Dunfermline 1, Falkirk 2, Montrose 1, Peterhead 0, Airdrieonians 3, and Queen of the South 1, Alloa 2. So this is League 2, and here's how it all finished there. Annan 0, Forfar 2, Bonnyrigg Rose 0, Albion Rovers 3, Dumbarton against Stirling Albion. That match was postponed. Elgin City 0, East Fife 2, and Stenhousemuir 2, Stranraer 1. Just thinking, did we do the Championship there? I'm not quite sure if we did, but either way, I can tell you in the Championship that Partick Thistle got a late goal in that game, and it ended Partick Thistle 2, Greenock Morton 1. I don't think we did the Championship. Cove Rangers 0, Queen's Park 6, Ayr United 1, Hamilton Accies 0, and Arbroath 1. Inverness, Cally Thistle 4. Let's just confirm that all with you. There's the results from the Championship. Good win for Inverness, narrow win for Ayr, stonking win for Queen's Park, and Thistle with the late show. Give us your thoughts on that if you are on the feed. If you download the PLZ Soccer app, you can actually record a message for us, or indeed you can type something out. It'll drop into our server, and then with a bit of luck we can put you on the show. We'll hear from Kerry Pollock and Adam Binney very shortly on their full-time assessment of the games. And if you get a chance, you are at this point able to give us a message on our YouTube feed as well, because we've started the first of what we hope will be many. Tam, whether you can survive it, whether you get a wee cough or a wee cold and you might not make the odd Saturday, but Saturday afternoons at 4 o'clock we'll give you the quick summary of the first half, and then keep everybody up to date on what's happening in the second half of the games.
Yep, and we're concentrating fully on Scottish football. We're not other outlets who speak about English football. We're purely concentrating on the Scottish game, which a lot of people will like as well. So there's a lot happening up and down divisions in Scottish football. A lot of tight leagues. Great result for Dunfermline today, takes him a little bit closer to that title. Another club who should never be in League One. And the Championship is very, very close. Queen's Park 4 points clear. Who would have thought that at the start of the season? So, and then you've got Dumbarton and Stirling going ham and tongs at League 2. So there's a lot going on up and down the leagues in Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, every now and then we will mention how the games all panned out. Of course, Paul's just taking a little bit of an exception to the way I summed up Celtic grinding it out. But sometimes you have to grind it out when you're looking for the all-important goal to make it comfortable. Celtic dominated against Kilmarnock today. I think they hit the bar maybe once, 2, 3 times. Could have scored 5 or 6. But that's the way it sometimes pans out. You just have to continually just wait, show a little bit of patience, go left, go right, as Ange Postecoglou's side often do. They try and wait and get in between the lines. It's difficult sometimes, though, if you've got a team who are sitting in. And the one team that I think has really done it to great effect this season, in that game I was at Love Street at St Mirren, the Smisa Stadium, was when St Mirren beat Celtic by 2-0. It's the only time where I've witnessed a team who've been able to keep it really tight domestically and work Celtic out.
Yeah, I think St Mirren had their... Listen, first and foremost, I think Celtic made too many changes.
Yes, I remember that.
Which is not... I don't think Ange will ever do that again. I think he made a big mistake. You know, on the back of... I think an international break was the following week, you know, so he had no really need to do that. He brought in too many players who were undercooked and no fit enough, match fit. And St Mirren took advantage of it and turned them over. But you're right, you know, Celtic, sometimes, you know, look at 9-0 away from home at Dundee United. Everything they hit really went in. And then today they've only scored 2 and they've maybe missed 5 or 6. So just on the day, sometimes everything can go in. You know, I've played in games like that. Everything you hit goes in, and sometimes you hit the bar, you're unlucky. The keeper plays well, and you maybe only score 1 or 2 goals. So I don't think Celtic were too disappointed. They won 2-0. They extend that lead to 12 points and put the pressure back on Rangers tomorrow. Yeah,
well, let's find out what was happening there at the Smisa Stadium in Paisley for that game between St Mirren and Hearts. Adam Binney watched it.
Here at the Smisa Stadium, it has finished St Mirren 1, Hearts 1. St Mirren, the host, they took the lead after just 4 minutes. It was a free kick from Ryan Strain, was deflected off the head of Toby Sibbick in the wall and into the bottom corner to give them the lead. Hearts went in search of an equaliser, but they didn't manage to get that until the 50th minute. It was a poor first half. They came flying out the traps in the second. Robert Snodgrass picked up the ball on the right hand side of the box from a short corner, whipped the ball into the direction of the box. The ball went straight in, beating all of the St Mirren defenders and the goalkeeper, landing in the bottom corner. Now, there wasn't much really happening in the way of chances for the rest of the match. The only chance in the second half for Hearts coming to Lawrence Shankland with a header from the centre of the box, saved by Trevor Carson. The big moment of controversy came in the 95th minute when Marcus Fraser was shown a red card, a straight red card, after a VAR check for violent conduct. It looked as though he had hopped over Osaka, who had just made a challenge on George Grant, and stamped down on Grant with 2 feet, and was shown a straight red card after a VAR check. But over here at the Smisa Stadium, it's all a piece. It finishes St Mirren 1, Hearts 1.
Well, that's not a good result for Hearts. It's a great result for St Mirren, especially when you consider the form of Hearts over the last few weeks. But St Mirren, under Stephen Robinson, certainly have been impressive. And I think the Saints fans took a wee while just to warm to him. And then once he got the side that he wanted to, Tam, slowly but surely, they've got it together. And that's a good point today for me.
Yeah, I think it is. I think listen, Hearts will be disappointed there. You know, there's a lot of chat yesterday about splitting the old firm. You know, and if you're going to do that, you've got to go to St Mirren and win. And by all accounts, they were miles off at the first half. St Mirren could have been 2 or 3-0 up. They got a reaction in the second half. Hearts, you know, managed to get a point out of the game, but I think it's probably a better point for St Mirren than it is for Hearts. I think you know, Hearts were disappointed it didn't win the game, but Stephen Robinson's done a great job there. You know, listen, we all know how well he done at Motherwell. You know, he was unlucky a couple of times. He got to cup finals and ran into Celtic. He went down to Morecambe, didn't quite work out, came to St Mirren, and as you said, he was under a wee bit of pressure at the start of the season. You know, the League Cup campaign, I think they get papped out of that early, and they didn't start the league particularly well either, but slowly but surely they've started to put results together, and you know, I think they're sitting in the top 6 at the minute, and if they can finish in the top 6 St Mirren this season, I think that's a great season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to Billy, who says young Adam will be a transfer target. I won't mention who he thinks they'll be a transfer target for, but Adam, like so many others in the broadcasting community, all started at PLZ. There's not much you know, that I can say about the youth academies elsewhere. When they start and go into the broadcasting,
this is like the La Masia.
Yeah, La Masia. That's exactly what it is, Tam. If you want to, as one person mentioned to me at a press conference, if you have a look around, Peter, 80% of the broadcasting journalists here all started with PLZ. It's a great place to learn your trade, but Adam's going to stay with us because he's on a 6.5-year Jim McLean deal. So it's quite good, Tam. You've got to get them on those long contracts before they decide to move away. But he's doing a great job for us, as is Kerry. And we've got other reporters who are covering Dundee United. We've got Claire up there at Tannadice as well as covering St Johnstone too, and we've got more reporters going out to games near and far. who'll be offering us their insight into the matches. We'll get reaction from Kerry at Celtic shortly. And John says, who misses Gabs? Gabs, another one of our proteges, speaking to him in midweek there. Of course, he's gone to obscurity now in a small radio station, but nevertheless, he was one of our great buys, our great recruits, and he's doing a great job. What a good lad he is. We've got some team, by the way, when we get the PLZ 11-a-side team together, Tam.
Yep, we have, and we've got Adam, who talks he's talking a massive game.
Oh, absolutely. I'm
expecting a mix of Ronaldo, Messi, Pele in there,
Rivellino,
Cruyff. I'm expecting a big performance if I ever play football with him.
Well, I have to tell you, he's all tricks and flicks.
And with Gabs.
Yeah.
Gabs was like that at the 5-a-side. Remember we turned up, as soon as I turned up at the 5-a-side, I'd never seen him playing football. Turned up, he'd under shorts on,
yes,
Under Armour shorts, under his shorts, and white boots. I just thought, sand dancer.
Yeah.
That was correct.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm looking forward to his. Nicholas says, when does the phone-in start, Peter? I remember those days of the phone-in for about 10 years of madness at Radio Clyde, where they basically, Celtic and Rangers fans, just battered each other. I can remember at 2010 thinking to myself, I've got to dig. I was like Steve McQueen trying to get over the fence with the motorbike in The Great Escape, as Rangers were in financial trouble, and that was madness, wasn't it? Well, it wasn't even banter, it was just mental. I thought I was going to go absolutely insane, but nevertheless, we really should actually get, well, but the good thing about it is we've got the live feed, so people
ask the questions on the feed, anything you want.
Anything you want. Give us your opinion. We'd be more than happy to react to your opinion on the feed. And if you want to, I think the other good thing is, if you want to, you can actually record yourself. It's on the app. If you download the PLZ Soccer app, not only can you watch the programme on your phone or your tablet or PC, but especially on the phone, there's an area called Submissions on the app, where if you hit it, you can record yourself, and then we'll put you on the screen as well. So, go and wash your hair, put your new top on, make sure you're wearing socks that you haven't worn for 2 or 3 days, because we do actually have a sock watcher who watches what socks we wear.
Fetish on here.
Yeah, and quite simply, give us your opinion. You can do it on screen, or you can do it in the live feed as well. And not forgetting Monday to Friday, as well as bringing you all the latest scores and previews of managers and players getting ready for not only midweek games, but of course the Scottish Cup semi-final ties, which we're looking forward to. I have to tell you, it finished at Celtic Park with a win for Celtic on all 3 points. Kerry Pollock watched the unfolding 90 minutes.
Full time here at Celtic Park, Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0. Alongside 12 points at the top of the Premiership. Jota, they got the scoring started. The final minutes of the first half with a tap in from Maeda's cross. He's now got 6 goals under his belt, but Kyogo wasn't supposed to include his name in the score sheet earlier in the second half. The cross from Tati this time, and the Japanese striker beat Sam Walker to get 16 goals in 21 games. Now, Joe Hart had absolutely nothing to do with the whole of the 90 minutes. I think Kilmarnock's best chance was from Ash Taylor, but he sent his header just over the bar. Visitors created very little from themselves in this afternoon. Celtic could have got a third on numerous occasions. Maeda was mistaken his first touch, sent it into the arms of the Killie goalkeeper. Yakinaki struck the ball from 20 yards and smacked off the crossbar. And James Forrest had the opportunity to get the third of the day, but he hit a post from about 5 yards ahead. As it finishes here this afternoon, Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0.
Yeah, 100% apologies for the sound there, which was absolutely abysmal. Did you see Gabs trying to sneak his head into it there just to get on the programme? You see him just trying to sneak himself into the programme there because he wants to be on a big show. I think Kerry's overall piece there is just dominance from Celtic. Give us your thoughts on that as well. Sorry, Paul, terrible sound there from Celtic Park, but we will hopefully have better from Kerry. You can see the disco lights going on in the background. They play them even for a 2-0 win over Kilmarnock. Anyway, Marlon says, great report from Kerry, really spoke volumes. Yeah, if only we had the volume. But we will get, hopefully, problems. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it still reminds me, Tam, and I'll never forget it, when we were doing one of the shows on STV, when the cameraman didn't know where the ground was and we missed the first 9 goals of a of a 6-5 game, and I started the report with, "We joined the game at 5-4."
I watched the game last night when Jonathan Sutherland said that it was 0-0 at half time.
Yeah, well, can I tell you something? I have great sympathy for Jonathan. He's a good lad. You make mistakes and you just have to take it on the chin. My God, I thought he killed somebody the way they were caning him today on social media. Nothing to worry about. We always listen. You can make mistakes. It's as simple as that. Mark says, "Peter, are you doing an NFL report? What's that top you've got on?" Of course, it's the 49ers. I like my American football. Do you like it, Tom?
I love it. I wasn't into it until I went and played in America. I went and played for Colorado and I went to the Denver Broncos game.
Yeah.
And I was hooked. I loved it. I thought it was a brilliant sport. And I watch the Super Bowl every year now.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, I'm a big fan of Tom Brady, but my hero growing up when I loved American football was Joe Montana. And I've always loved the San Francisco 49ers. And interestingly enough, it's like if you go to football stadiums anywhere in Europe or the world and you want to go and see them, I basically managed to con my daughter into heading towards the 49ers stadium, where there's a huge statue of Joe Montana and Dwight Clark, and it replicates the catch that he actually threw in a famous game to get them the championship and then into obviously yet another Super Bowl final. But Joe Montana was absolutely superb, and as ever, you know what it's like. We love our sport, we love our football, and if you love your football, give us your thoughts on the scores today, because it was a day of doubles. Celtic won by 2-0 to extend their lead to 12 points over Rangers, with Rangers still to go to Tannadice tomorrow. We'll hear from Michael Beale shortly. And over and above that, up at Pittodrie, great day for Jim Goodwin. It's one of those days where I think Jim Goodwin will just breathe a sigh of relief. Aberdeen winning by 2-0. Luis Duque Lopez scoring both goals for the Dons in their 2-0 win over St Johnstone. And what about Dingwall? Ross County 0, Livingston 2. Bruce Anderson with both goals there. The only draw was St Mirren against Hearts, and as I mentioned, off the back of someone coming out, Toby Sivic, and saying they're going to try and catch Rangers in second place and split Glasgow's big two clubs. It's just not going to happen when you draw at St Mirren. I think St Mirren may be well worthy of the point at least, Tom.
Yeah, I think by all accounts they were by far the dominant side in the first half. Got the goal. I think it was a little bit fortuitous, free kick, deflection and in, but I think Hearts got a reaction. I think at half time Robbie Nielsen would have been in and got a grip of a few players, and they turned it around, got a point out of it. But probably a draw over the course of the game is a fair result. Yeah,
I'll tell you one thing that I really think deserves tremendous credit is the guys who put the match programme together at St Mirren, because there was a lovely picture of Frank McGarvey on the front page and then a tribute inside, because a lot of people think of Frank as a Celtic legend, but he certainly was a legend at St Mirren as well. Was part of that Scottish Cup winning side of 1987 against Dundee United, and I think he contributed greatly to their win in the semi-final as well. Frank was a massive player for St Mirren and of course for Celtic, and he is one of those very rare players who has the full collection of the second division medal, the first division medal and the Premiership in Scotland, and he's got the Scottish Cup because he scored the winner in the 100th Scottish Cup final in 1985 against Dundee United, and got a League Cup with Celtic. I think it might have been 1982 against Rangers in a 2-1 win. So Frank McGarvey has the complete collection, and his funeral is coming up, and I think there will be lots and lots of people wanting to pay tribute to him, be at the funeral and show and pay their respects to him, people within the game and people that he knew his friends out with it. I think we were very lucky because Frank was I'm not just saying this, he was a huge fan of the show. He watched it regularly and he used to phone me up and say, I think this, I think that. He'd come on the show, and we were the last show that he appeared on.
Yep, that was, I remember that interview well. I watched it, very poignant, and it just shows you how quickly people can deteriorate. And unfortunately for Frank, that was his last interview. But I think if anybody watches it on PLZ on the YouTube channel in the catch up, you'll see a guy who loved life, loved playing football, and he'll be sadly missed. I actually got a quiz question. There's one for your viewers. Which 3 junior clubs did Frank McGarvey play for?
Oh, that's a belter, by the way. Because
I got sent that the other day and I got one of them, but I didn't get the 3, so no Googling.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's nothing worse than just suddenly Googling it and then wanting recognition after you've looked for
Which
the
3
answer.
teams did Frank McGarvey play for? Junior teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, you can join us on PLZ Soccer on a regular basis. I want to thank everyone for supporting us and hitting the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, because lots of people are embracing our regular updates, 4 to 5 Monday to Friday. The show is going down a storm, but people are downloading the app, getting the breaking football news, and they are also looking at the website, and some people are looking at some of the cracking stuff we've got in the shop, because we've got 20 legends. You can get canvas, you can get the prints, you can get the t-shirts as well as the Maestro. I mean, you've absolutely pestered me for 2 of them now. You've got the green one and the black one, Tam, but the Maestro training tops are fantastic for golf.
Yep, absolutely. They're great quality as well. They're waterproof, and you can wear them at the golf. So I've got a black one on there now, which is nice, and I've got the green one. But you can get the staunch ones are available as well. Red and blue. You see the wee white one in between there.
I was just about to say, I haven't got white yet, but I have to say to you, you have to choose your colour carefully depending on the results, because you usually get absolute pelters from it. Mark DeWolf says Kilsyth Rangers.
Yes.
Was that one of them?
That was one.
Billy says Kilsyth, Shotts and St Rochs. I'm not
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3, yeah. I think we're missing one that that's quite obvious. But anyway, you can give us the third team. It's a good question, Tam. I have to be honest with you, I would not have known the answer had it not been for Ruffy mentioning the other team in midweek. But you can give us your thoughts on that. If you do get a chance, please have a look and see the 1-to-1 with Frank McGarvey. I caught up with him about 6 weeks ago, and it was just a joy. Emotional at the end, but well worthy of Frank. Just recalling some great memories from his time at St Mirren, insight into Liverpool as well, and also returning to his boyhood heroes, the club he supported as a boy, Celtic, and all the great times he had there with so many players in that dressing room that I have known so well. And the other great thing about it, which I was lucky, was of course getting the chance to actually just play football with Frank in charity matches and various games up and down the country. He loved his football. He would have played till his dying day if he was fit enough.
Yeah. I'd say it was obvious when you seen the interview and you listened to him speaking. I'd never met Frank, but you can tell that he loved football, loved playing football. You know, he played to a good age as well. Ruffy's got a couple of good stories about him in junior football when he was, you know, kind of just playing his career out and trying to earn a few quid. But no, a great character and fantastic player. St Mirren fans, obviously. My brother-in-law's a massive St Mirren fan, and he said he was one of the best strikers that St Mirren have had. So he rates him highly. So St Mirren fans loved him as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, let me also tell you that we're just about to hear from Michael Beale and Stevie Crawford. We'll also hear from Lee Johnson, get Tam's thoughts on the high Bs, and we'll hear from Stephen Hamill, as well as getting reaction from St Mirren against Hearts. We might get a chance to talk to Adam Binney live shortly. And we'll also have reaction from Ange Postecoglou after that 2-0 win for Celtic against Kilmarnock. We'll try and bring you the reaction to that too. Sunday, 2 games to look forward to. Motherwell against Hibs, and up at Tannadice, Dundee United against Rangers. And Dundee United have been going really well. 9 points available. They've managed to take 7 out of the 9 since the return after the World Cup. Rangers, well, it's no surprise that Michael Beale is manager of the month, because he had 4 wins in the month of December.
Yep, I think some of the performances weren't particularly great, but the most important thing for Michael going in at Rangers was to get wins. I think he's got to try and keep the pressure on Celtic. He's got to keep winning games, just in case Celtic slip up. You know, and some of those wins came dramatically. Obviously, the one at Aberdeen was a late show, but 4 wins out of 4, you can't do any better than that in terms of results. And at Celtic Rangers, you're always judged on results. You want performances as well, obviously, but you know, coming in 4 wins and then getting a credible draw, I think, against Celtic at Ibrox, then I think he started life at Rangers as manager pretty well.
Yeah, and this week, I think Rangers fans can expect a couple of new faces coming in. If Michael Beale, his words from the after match press conferences, in fact looking ahead to the game against Dundee United yesterday, he reiterated what he was hoping for in the January transfer window.
We've spoken to 2 or 3 players. Our phone's not stopped really. There's a lot of players interested in coming here. I've got to make sure they're the right one. I'm a little bit fussy. I want to sit in front of a player and I want to look in his eyes. It's all right doing something over Zoom. My schedule's been pretty packed out up until that game last Monday. This week's been spent meeting people face to face and getting a feel for them, telling them exactly what I want, not them the other way around in terms of what they're expecting, what I'm expecting from them, and the role that I want them to play coming in. Because when we're recruiting, I'm recruiting players for real specific roles.
Well, that I think will hearten a lot of Rangers fans that he's looking. I think he's looking for a midfielder first and foremost, but he might be looking for a striker as well, depending on what happens with Alfredo Morelos. The last thing Rangers want to do is to get a bit of bad publicity where they haven't got Kent on a deal or Morelos.
Yeah, listen, I think if you're a Rangers supporter and you're looking at both performances this season, you're looking at a guy who, no matter if he's playing well or playing poorly, gives 100%, works hard, and that's Ryan Kent for me. I think his performances have been up and down this season, but the one thing you get out of Ryan Kent, from the games that I've seen anyway, is 100% commitment and work rate, even if he's not playing well. I thought he played really well against Celtic, scored a great goal, and he doesn't look as if he's a player that's got a move on his mind and is down tools. On the other hand, you've got Alfredo Morelos, who looks as if he's down tools physically, mentally. You know, he's out of shape. Listen, everybody spoke about and had their tuppence worth this week about his fitness levels. I think he's letting down his teammates and the supporters with the shape he's in. I don't think he's capable of playing 90 minutes at a high level, you know, with the fitness levels that he's got. So I think if you're a Rangers supporter, you're quite happy to see him leave, either in the window or at the end of the season. I think you've had great service out for £1 million. I think his best days are behind him. And I think you either get money from him now or you let him go in the summer for nothing. But Ryan Kent, I think, would be one that you would want to keep simply because he is capable on his day of producing special moments like the one against Celtic. Yeah,
up at Tannadice, Dundee United have lost only one of their past 4 home games against Rangers in the top flight, so they'll certainly be feeling confident. And according to Stevie Crawford, the assistant at Dundee United, the preparations for this game tomorrow have gone well.
We worked extremely hard, you know, during the World Cup break, as other teams will be doing as well. But it gave us an opportunity to work on things on the training pitch, you know, which have come to fruition, which is pleasing. But, you know, football's got a habit of kicking you in the teeth at the same time as well, and we come up against a dangerous animal, Rangers, at the weekend. So we'll very much focus on what we've been doing well, look at the wee bits and pieces that we can do better, and then hopefully carry confidence into the game at the weekend.
Yeah, Dundee United will feel happy with their preparation because in the last 3 games they played really well.
They have. They've taken 7 points out of 9. I think they needed to. They were bottom in the league. You know, and a lot of people were tipping them to get relegated. I tipped them to get relegated just before Christmas because I just didn't think they had enough. But you know, I could be revisiting that. You know, the last 3 performances have been very good. You know, 2 clean sheets back to back, 1-0, 3-0.
I think St Johnstone will feel unlucky they didn't get an eagle. They played well in that match, but they did. United grinded out.
Yeah, a little bit of quality from Tony Watt. Spins in the box and gets his shot away and puts it in the bottom corner. But huge test coming up. I think Michael Beale Rangers are just starting to gain a little bit of momentum, a little bit of traction. You know, he's in there. You know, quite a bit now. He's in there. He's been able to get his ideas over to players. I think you'll start to see more consistent levels of performance from Rangers going forward. They're starting to get players back from injury. You know, we spoke about maybe getting a couple back towards the end of the month, and that increases pressure on the guys that's playing. So I think that Rangers will go up there and win the game, but I don't think it'll be easy.
Yeah, I've got Rangers to win it 2-1.
Yeah, I think I went 2-1 as well. I think it'll be a narrow victory. I don't think you can ever get an easy game up there at Tannadice.
Yeah, okay. Just on that point, are there players at Tannadice that you think could have done better, haven't really reached the heady heights?
Well, I think I just mentioned Tony Watt there. I think that a guy has quality. I don't know off the top of my head his goals tally this season, but I don't think it's been high enough. He came from Motherwell with a big reputation, done well at Motherwell, signed a big contract up there, and there's rumours that he's maybe moving on. I don't know if Dundee United want to trim the wage bill and maybe get somebody in on lesser wages. But I think Tony, you know,
it's only 4 goals this season.
Yeah, that's not a great return, and he's been in and out of the team. Stephen Fletcher's done okay, but I thought he might have done a wee bit better as well. Charlie Mulgrew's been injured, so there's players up there with big reputations, on big money, who I think that maybe the Dundee United fans would have expected a little bit more from.
Yeah, okay. That's Dundee United against Rangers. What do you think of that match? Give us your thoughts. Give us your prediction on that. We'll hear from Ange Postecoglou very shortly, as well as I think Stephen Robinson will be delighted with his point against Hearts in Paisley. We'll hear from him and hopefully get a wee chat with Adam Binney, our reporter out there, who watched the 90 minutes unfold. As far as the other match, Motherwell against Hibs, big game. Motherwell in 10th position, Hibs in 8th, and looking as if, you know, they're in a position now where you look at the last 5 games, they've had 4 defeats and only 1 win, Tam. It's just not good enough.
Yeah, listen, Hibs will be, at the start of the season, they'll be wanting to finish in the top 3 or 4 every season and get a run in the Cups. That's the itinerary for any manager that comes into Easter Road. You know, and Jack Ross was the only one in the last 15 years. I think the last one was Tony Mowbray, the year that I left Hibs, was finished 3rd in the league, and it's not good enough. And I think this season, you know, it's not been good enough straight from the start. I think there's been a lot of players come in that's not been good enough. Listen, we've spoke about recruitment all week at Hibs, and there's obviously, you know, they've seen this morning from a departure of a player already who wasn't good enough, and there's got to be serious, you know, eyes put on the recruitment team at Hibs, because it's not just the last couple of months, it's been 18 months, and that's why Hibs find themselves where they are, and they've went through 3 managers, because the recruitment's not been good enough. The players are not bringing in, the players that are bringing in, are not good enough, and that's leading to poor results, and it could cost another manager his job. Yeah, the chairman's been pretty quiet. He's usually at the forefront of coming out periodically talking about the direction of the club. I actually think they're desperately looking for a buyer, and I think there are people sniffing around. I've said it yesterday on the programme. I'm led to believe that there are 2 or 3 people looking to try and get the right funds together to buy the club. Well, that wouldn't surprise me, because, I mean, you look at the stadium now, you look at the training ground at Trinent, fantastic setup, training facility. The stadium now, they've put so much money into the stadium. They've got the big screens in the corner. They've built the new 4 new, you know, reasonably new stands. You know, everything off the park at Hibs looks good. You know, they've got hospitality suites in there. You know, I've seen some of the videos. It looks absolute top class. You know, and they've invested a lot of money in the stadium and infrastructure. But at the end of the day, the most important thing at any club is the team on the park, and that's not been good enough. And you know, I think it would be a very attractive proposition for someone to come in and buy Hibs in the position they are now, because the only way is up. Yeah, and of course, Lee Johnson's under a little bit of pressure, and he's well aware of that pressure, and he's keen to get them back to winning ways after the disappointment of the derby.
Like, you've got to get back on the horse. Like when you have a feeling like we've all had, you know, life goes on. Like, we're disappointed. What have we lost? We've lost the opportunity for 3 points. Our pride's been dented. Because of the importance to the supporters and the fact that it's a local derby. But we're not dead and buried. You know, we've got an opportunity here still to have a really super successful season, I think. A quick run of wins can turn it around, and obviously we've got a cup to compete in as well. So therefore we get another opportunity to right a wrong on our home turf. So, like, that's the medium-term focus. But I can assure you the short-term focus is just win the next football match and prepare as best we can. Okay, sometimes managers talk in riddles. It's a chance to have a super successful season. If they win the next 18 games, they get a chance to win that league, Tam.
Is it still mathematically possible? No, listen. I think it shows you how, I wouldn't say, I don't want to write the league off, but it shows you how inconsistent the teams are. You know, Hibs are not that far away from 4th place. You know, and he's right. The next 3 games are crucial. You know, you've got Motherwell away, Dundee United at home, and then you've got Hearts in the Cup. You win the 3 games, you know, you're maybe sitting in 4th place, 5th place, top 6, and you're in the next round of the Scottish Cup, and you beat your biggest rivals. So he is right. It can turn round quickly, but it can also get worse quickly. And the next 3 games for Lee are absolutely huge. Starting from Sundays, right? Just win the game on Sunday, take the confidence from that into Dundee United at home, and then you've got a huge derby game in the Cup. So, listen, I hope they do win 3 games. And I hope, because there's a lot of negativity about Hibs at the minute, a lot of negativity in social media. The club's getting slaughtered, the owner's getting slaughtered, the recruitment's getting slaughtered, the players are getting slaughtered. You know, and I'm just glad that I wasn't about when, 20 years ago when social media, because it must be hard for players to read.
Yeah.
It must be hard for players to read social media and people tagging them and saying you're rubbish, you're crap and this and that, you're stealing our wage and all that nonsense. But that is the world we live in now, and you've got to have a strong mentality to deal with all that.
Yeah, you've got to block out the noise.
Yeah.
Chris Corey says Hibs have no excuse to not be up challenging for third. I must admit, they've had a few injuries, and I'm not making an excuse on that. I just don't see anything that looks like a side that's got a strategy that suggests that they're going to be successful at this moment. And I think after last week's press conference, when he did mention Lee Johnson after the Derby defeat that he wanted to he would quite gleefully get 10 out and get one quality player in. The problem is trying to get them in. Of the 5 or 6 that I think I would certainly keep, one of them would be Joe Newell, the other one, McGeady, definitely can offer something. Kyle McGuinness is a player that I think can offer something. Marshall, you would keep. And Nisbet, you would hope, would get some kind of form, Tom.
Yep, no, I think the ones you mentioned, I totally agree with all of them. And you've got to keep the nucleus of a good squad. Obviously, Martin Boyle being out is a huge miss. I think that he is the talisman. He carried Hibs in a lot of games, even the season Hibs finished third. Martin Boyle, had a great season, and he scored a lot of important goals. So, no, I think that he's got to add better quality. He's right. Obviously, there's one left this morning. I think there'll be loads going out the door, and as I said, if you can bring in 2 or 3 quality players with good experience that played at a good level to go straight into the team, then I think you'll see a big difference in the Hibs team. Yeah,
Marlon says fanzines were more brutal, Tam, but the problem is fanzines, not everybody picked them up. You didn't need to buy them. You didn't get that kind of a global access of people who are looking at their phones.
Yeah, nobody could tag you in your phone and all that stuff. Yeah. And I know there was fanzines at Hibs. There was Hibs.net, which was the big forum. I remember I used to go on that at times when I was a young player, and I should never have been on them because you see people slaughtering you. It does affect you. And I can imagine now, on social media, a lot of players would just turn notifications off or delete their social media because they don't want to be on the end of the flak. But you've got to have a strong mentality, and there's a lot of flak flying at Hibs at the minute. They're a club who the fans expect to be doing a lot better than they're doing. And you've just got to put that at the back of your mind and go out and put performances in.
Yeah, and listen, if you're talking about a team with a lot of negativity around them at the moment, Stephen Hamill is well aware of it, because Motherwell, 1 win in 11, it's not good. And in the last 5 matches, it's been 3 draws and 2 defeats. And they've got to try and get something against this Hibs side. So it's 2 teams, not a great bit of form. But Stephen Hamill reckons that Motherwell could turn things around, because there's not too much of a difference between all the teams battling in the bottom half of the table.
In terms of the league, yet we're hoping that over the next period in January things like that turn around, because it is tight. It is tight. We're not cut adrift anywhere. The league's tight. There's not much in the league in terms of quality. We feel like we feel like when we play every team we've played this season, we feel like we've been strong against. So we don't feel like there's any kind of level difference between us and other teams in the league, the teams that we should be competing with.
I think the big disappointment, I could tell he was an angry man in one of the midweek games when I went into the post-match press conference, and he was so unhappy that Louis Moult couldn't reach the heights of the first time that he was at Motherwell, because he just came with an injury and he couldn't shake it off.
Yeah, I think Stephen obviously probably maybe played with Louis Moult and seen how good he was every day in training, and some of the goals he scored. Remember the goals against Rangers, a lob, fantastic goal at Hampden, scored 4 in a derby game against Hamilton. So listen, there's a guy who the Motherwell fans absolutely adored, and when you go away after doing really well at a club and you come back, it's very difficult to replicate and reach the same heights as you done back then. So he hasn't managed to do that. He's picked up injury problems, and I'm sure that Hammy will be in the market for a striker. I think they need goals in their team. They're very, very reliant on Kevin Van Veen, who's quite a streaky striker. He'll get bunches of goals, but he'll also go in games where he'll no score. So it's a huge game for both clubs tomorrow. It really is. I've got a lot of time for Stephen Hamill. I've known him for 20 years. Same with Brian Carey's assistant. I know them very, very well, and I really, really hope they turn that around and do well at Motherwell. But I'm going to go for a Hibs win tomorrow.
Yeah, I've got it as 1-1. I mean, you mentioned Van Veenie's got 12 goals for Motherwell. He's the man that really...
That's a decent return.
It is a decent return, but he needs a bit of help as well. I've got them 1-1. What did you say you've gone for?
I went for 3-1 to Hibs. I think that Hibs will get a reaction, and I think they'll go and win the game. Motherwell not won at home since August, one of the worst home records in British football, which is not great for them. But Hibs have got to go and take advantage of the fans being a little bit under pressure and putting the players under pressure at Fir Park.
Okay, the league leaders Celtic went into the match against Kilmarnock with a 9-point advantage over second place Rangers. They could extend that to 12 if they got all 3 points today. In the game against Kelly, they managed to do that because right on the stroke of half time, Jota scored the opening goal. In the second half, they extended their advantage to 2. It looked as if Kyogo was the man attributed with the goal, but it's been awarded to, rather, I think, dismally, Ash Taylor. He'll not be happy that he scored the OG, but the 2 goals gave Celtic all 3 points, a 12-point advantage. And this is what Celtic manager Ange Postecoglou had to say after the game.
Yeah, look, I thought first half was a bit sticky. We didn't really get rhythm to the game or flow. Some of it was, give them credit, they were sort of well structured, well organised, but we didn't make some good choices, sort of in the front third especially. Decision making wasn't great, but the boys were disciplined. We got a really good goal. Stuff we work on. I think could have had more opportunities like that in the first half, but then second half I thought we were really good. Dominated the game, played it in the areas we wanted to, scored a great goal, and probably should have had 2 or 3 more.
Yeah, convincing win for Celtic. And the key issue here is if you are chasing the league leaders and the champions, you're starting to look at specific games where you think to yourself, they might drop points there, they might drop points there. You can't see Celtic dropping points anywhere.
No, listen, I think the league's Rangers had to win to give themselves even a glimpse last week. The league's done and dusted. Celtic will win the league. I just think for Rangers now, Rangers supporters, they want to see hope, they want to see improvement from now at the end of the season. They want to see shoots of recovery, and going ahead into next season, can we go and compete with Celtic? Because I think that Celtic will have dominated the league this season. I think they'll win the league by double digits, to be honest. And it's all about Rangers trying to improve the team this season, looking ahead to next season and trying to and do well in both cups.
Yeah, okay. In the game at Paisley, well, Hearts were hoping that they could just make sure that Aberdeen weren't given a sniff of hope in this battle for third place. They had a number of players saying, they've got the quality, they can finish third, they can move further away from Aberdeen. It didn't quite materialise. It finished St Mirren 1, Hearts 1 in that match at Paisley, and Robbie Neilson gave us his thoughts after the game.
Yeah, it is. They make the game very, very difficult for you to play. Any opportunity the ball's going forward, it's going in your box, long throws, corners, set plays, direct play, and it can make the game really unpredictable. And I felt that first half we were just, if it was 10 passes a goal, we'd have won probably 10-0. But ultimately it's about getting shots at goal. We were too deep, passing it back to Xander all the time, allows him to presses. Second half we were a lot higher and actually managed to penetrate them.
Yeah, well, if you listen to the Hearts manager there, it's a case of just calling on his players to be brave. Adam, is that fair comment? Was it a case of Hearts not really, being aggressive, trying to attack St Mirren, get shots away because they've paid the ultimate penalty, Adam, and dropped 2 points?
I'm not actually sure you can blame the Hearts players for that one. St Mirren have got one of the best defences in the league. That back 5 is so strong. The goalkeeper, Trevor Carson, as well. Yeah, you can argue that they only really had 2 chances. The cross that goes in and then the header from Shanklin midway through the second half. You can argue the players got to be braver, but it's a strong back 5 for St Mirren. So I don't think you can be too critical on the Hearts players. I know Robbie Neilson wasn't. Perhaps there is some truth in the fact that they were passing the ball back to the goalkeeper too often, which does allow St Mirren to step up and press. You've seen Robinson players every single time it went back to Xander Clark. It was a little bit boring, if you say, if you're a Hearts fan watching this one. It was side penetrate. Yeah, St Mirren, fantastic defensively. Again, it's every time I come here, they're brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam, you're heading up to Sorry for the break-up there in Adam. But Adam, you're heading up to Tannadice for Dundee United against Rangers tomorrow. Of course, all the Rangers fans will be wondering what reinforcements he can get in the January transfer window. But short term, it's a case of trying to build on the performances that got the manager of the month and the impressive display against Celtic.
Yeah, first of all, apologies for the St Mirren Wi-Fi here. I'm breaking up a little bit, but that's maybe better. You won't hear me stuttering as often. But yeah, Rangers tomorrow. I was speaking to Michael Beale at the press conference yesterday, manager of the month. He did tell us that it's not an award for him, that old cliche that it's an award for the whole team. He didn't score the goal in the 97th minute. It was Scott Arfield. We haven't had a complete performance. Michael Beale talks about the style that he wants to implement, wants to play fluid attacking football, but Rangers still really haven't been at their best. We've seen it in spells, and I'm sure Rangers fans will be hoping tomorrow will finally be the chance where you see a full Michael Beale performance.
Yeah, and just before you go, Adam, a lot of people on our first Saturday show back for a while, we used to do it on a regular basis. As soon as we started, everybody's talking about Tam's haircut, but there's a clamour for you to get a new 21st century haircut for 2023. Is it on the cards, or are you going to stick with the Duran Duran hairstyle?
Well, I know a lot of the followers aren't going to believe this. I actually got a haircut yesterday, but I sat in the chair and, kind of bricked the pants and thought, do you know what, we'll just get a little trim. I was thinking about going short again. My mother keeps telling me you need to go shorter. She says I need to get the beautiful face on show, but I don't think the PLZ viewers would appreciate that. So I'll keep it hidden with this terrible set of curtains on the go just now.
I've not seen curtains like that since 1985. My granny's in Kilmarnock.
To be fair, I love the fact that his mum said, "Get your hair cut so they can see your beautiful face." That's
what my mum was saying it.
That's brilliant, Adam. We'll be up there at Tannadice. Great to get that little footnote from the match there where he watched St Mirren and Hearts share the spoils in a 1-1 draw. Brilliant from Adam Binney, who's a reporter, along with Kerry, going out to the games, and more reporters coming online to bring us more reports from right across the Scottish Premiership. And the story really is basically PLZ Soccer expanding, bringing you greater opportunities to watch your content. There's lots more coming up. We've been at the Champions League this season with Celtic and Rangers. We're also bringing you more one-to-ones, more that game, dream teams, and I think you're going to enjoy some of the content we're bringing on for 2023. And this week coming, I have to say, Tam, Rangers fans are going to be delighted. I've finally found the Europa League final programme, and I'm going to give that away with the Europa League, that season, getting to the Europa League final. We've got the Rangers shirt as well, so we'll give the Rangers replica shirt and the programme away this week. Good prize.
Great prize for a Rangers supporter. I think that they'll be like gold dust, the programmes, and as we've seen, it's not often that Celtic Rangers get to European finals. It might be a while before they get to another one, so that along with the strips, a great prize for someone to win, and you need to give them the answers for the Frank McGarvey.
Yeah, absolutely.
The three junior teams were Kilsyth Rangers, Troon, and...
Well, I'm going to say. Well, I was going to say Glenafton because
no, it's not. I forgot the last one.
He played once for
Shots.
Shots, yeah.
Shots, Troon, and
go on.
What's the other one?
Did Bill not tell you?
Bill's
actually told me. I thought you knew it.
I did.
Yeah, but I say Glenafton because he played for Ruffy for one game. Which technically, would be a fourth, but nevertheless, thanks to so many people who've commented on Adam.
Kilsyth, Shots, and Troon.
Kilsyth, Shots and Troon. Okay, so there you have it. There's the answer to the McGarvey question. And thanks to everybody. Paul Brady says, why don't you comb your hair over your face, Shyness? That's really unkind. And Marlon says, the last time I seen hair like that, I was 18. But listen, I have to be honest with you, we've all had, Tam, from time to time, haircuts that have been embarrassing for us, for each and every one of us. I can remember a haircut. I've had a haircut at 18 that I absolutely regretted, but thankfully I've managed to delete all those photographs from the hard drive so nobody can get a hold of them. But
just going for the salt and pepper now,
I'm just going to grow old gracefully, and when it goes grey, I'm not going to diet. I'm just looking at you, Tam, and giving you a bit of advice, because you have had a haircut when you joined us 4 years ago, which was the Bond villain with that blonde hair. I can't remember the guy who was in it, Casino Royale. He was one of the villains. He dyed his hair blonde, but when you turned up in the studios, boy did we all laugh heartily. Listen, we've all had nightmare haircuts, we've all had nightmare games, we've all had really good games, and I think Bruce Anderson will be going away today thinking thoroughly enjoyed it up at Dingwall. 2-0 win for Livingston. He got both goals.
Yeah, brilliant for him. We've seen him coming through as a young player at Aberdeen. He looked a really good prospect. Played a few games for Aberdeen, but never really, broke through as a regular striker. He a couple of loan spells as well. He done well, and he went to Livingston, and he's doing really well at Livingston. His goals record over the last, season and a half is pretty good for Livingston. And to go up there and score 2 goals, win the game for them, it'll be a great journey back down the road for the Livingston boys. I think they move into the top 6, and they're still running for 3rd place as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back over the full-time scores before we say farewell, and ask you to enjoy your weekend before hopefully returning to us on Monday at 4 o'clock on our YouTube channel. In the Scottish Premiership, the full-time scores from this match: Aberdeen 2, St Johnstone 0, Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0, Ross County 0, Livingston 2, St Mirren 1, Hearts 1. And the story of that Premiership is quite simply that Celtic have extended their advantage over Rangers to 12 points before, of course, Rangers head up to Tannadice tomorrow to take on Dundee United, and also at Fir Park it's Motherwell against Hibernian. In the Championship, the full-time scores from there is Arbroath 1, Inverness 4, Ayr 1, Hamilton 0, Cove 0, Queen's Park 6, and Partick Thistle 2, Greenock Morton 1. What a day for Simon Murray, who scored 4 goals, Tam.
Amazing. He's went to Queen's Park and done phenomenally well. I think he scored in 4 straight league games before today. It was maybe 5. He scored 4 goals. I think he's top scorer in the division. And if you've got a player like that in your team, they're capable of winning the league. They keep him fit. They keep him banging goals in. He could be the difference between Queen's Park finishing 3rd or 4th and to actually win the league. And it piles the pressure a wee bit on Dundee, who are now 4 points behind and the favourites to win the league. Yeah, League One, the full-time scores from that division: Clyde 1, Kelty Hearts 2, Edinburgh 0, Dunfermline 1, Falkirk 2, Montrose 1, Peterhead 0, Airdrieonians 3, and Queen of the South 1, Alloa 2. And I think it was a late winner there for Kelty Hearts as well. But as you look at that division, Dunfermline will be well happy to come away with a 1-0 win against Edinburgh. Yeah, that was a top of the table clash. I think Edinburgh were only a point behind, so that extends Dunfermline's lead to, I think, 4 points. They'll be huge favourites now to go on and win the league. Again, I played with Dunfermline in the Premier League and Falkirk in the Premier League, and there was times we were getting 7,000-8,000 at the game, so the support's there in both the clubs. Falkirk, I think, will be in the playoffs this season. Dunfermline, I think, will win the league. And for both of those teams to be in League One is a travesty. But that's what happens when you don't run your club properly, and your recruitment's no good, and everything off the pitch is no good, and on the pitch you find yourself down in divisions. And James McPake now doing a really good job at Dunfermline. I think he's going to win them the league this season and get them back into the Championship. Yeah, League Two, full-time scores from that division: Annan Athletic 0, Forfar 2, Bonnie Rose 0, Albion Rovers 3, Dumbarton against Stirling Albion was postponed, Elgin City 0, East Fife 2, and Stenhousemuir 2, Stranraer 1. So that's how it all panned out across our first show back on this Saturday. We're delighted to bring you this show once more over the 10 years, and we're celebrating our 10 years on PLZ Soccer. We are absolutely delighted to bring you the show back. I'm delighted that Tam's alongside me. We're going to have a lot of laughs, a lot of fun. We've got reporters going out to the games on a regular basis, and from 4 o'clock till 6 on a Saturday, hopefully you can join us. Hit the subscribe button if you can. Give us your opinion on the live feed. And if you get a chance, if you download the PLZ Soccer app, then you can get all the breaking football stories from the UK, from European football and world football as well,
and you can watch all our archive material as well as watching the show live as well. So all you have to do is quite simply join us and hit the subscribe button. Thousands upon thousands of people are doing it, and thank you to the people who've joined us on Facebook. Are lapping up. Our TikTok is going to grow as well over the next few months. We're really looking forward to trying to put as many bits of content on there for you to interact with. But YouTube and of course our app are proving very, very popular indeed, as well as the podcast too. So thank you very much to all of you for basically giving us a nice start, lots of good opinion, a chance to engage with not only the fans of the programme, you can engage with each other, but you can offer your own opinion to us. If you download the app, you can actually record your opinion as well, which will drop into our server. You never know, we might get you on the programme, we'll see you on the programme as well. But join us on Monday if you can, because Tam will be back with us, and what's the name of that other guy?
Ex-goalkeeper.
Yeah, it'll come to me.
Punted for Thistle.
Yes, Ruffy will be back with us. You're a harsh man. Ruffy will be back with us on Monday at 4 o'clock alongside Tam and myself, and we'll hear more from the managers and players involved in the weekend matches, including, of course, reaction to tomorrow's games, Dundee United Rangers and Motherwell against Hibs. From Tam McManus, from myself, Peter, and from Sean and Blair, Adam and Kerry doing a great job in the background, and more staff to follow to bring you all the latest from the Scottish Premiership and beyond. Join us if you can on Monday, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Enjoy your weekend.